I'm fine, Cole said, his voice a soothing balm. I figured it out before anything happened. This is too dangerous, Cole. From now on, you need to bring more people with you. We need to get the security department up and running, and you can't drink anything from outside, Jasmine said, her voice tight with a seriousness he had rarely heard. She had never been this tense before. It finally hit her. Her little brother wasn't just any entrepreneur. His profile was too high. Headline today was a cash flow machine with virtually no debt. There was no telling how many people were watching him, hungry and waiting. She's right, Cole, Sabrina added, her own fear still lingering. You need bodyguards. People are just too vicious. If he had been drugged, the consequences were unthinkable. Brother, Luna's eyes were wide with worry. Maybe I shouldn't do finance. I'll be your bodyguard instead. She was afraid the professionals wouldn't be good enough. The words sounded childish, but they were warm. Your job is financial management, Cole said, looking at her gently. Sasha is our bodyguard, and I'll have her find more people. A moment later, Sasha entered the office. Although her official duty was to drive the female VPs, she felt a pang of guilt. The big boss had nearly been taken down on her watch, and she hadn't been there to help. Sasha, Cole began, we're establishing a corporate security department, and you're the director. I need you to find some people from your old unit. 2 men and 8 women. Their salary will be no less than $10,000 a month. You'll make 15. No problem, Mr. Chun. I'll make the calls right now. Sasha didn't waste words. She turned and walked out to get on the phone. Cole hadn't made the decision before, so it wasn't her place to push. But there were plenty of elite veterans out there, many of whom had washed out of government or police work because of their personalities. It was a common problem for Tier 1 operators. They were exceptional individuals, but their rigid, uncompromising nature made them terrible at navigating the politics of institutional hierarchies. Almost without exception, they were too blunt to play the game. Cole spent a few more minutes recounting the incident for the girls, and their eyes shone with admiration. Their man was so brilliant he could see right through a scheme like that. Jasmine's gaze slowly grew hazy, a familiar desire flickering within her to see her brother in his other, more dominant roles. It was the only way she could express the depth of her love. Serena's eyes practically turned into stars. She propped her chin on her hands, gazing at Cole with pure adoration. A strange impulse washed over her, a desperate need to press herself against him, to feel his strength. It was a private, shameful feeling she couldn't share with anyone. Luna bit her lower lip, Cole's reflection filling her eyes. Next time, I'll agree to his strange request, she thought. All 3 of them blushed, but lost in their own worlds, none of them noticed the others. After a while, the 3 girls stood up to head back to campus. Jasmine had exams coming up, and both Serena and Luna had important classes they needed to prepare for, getting a head start on their sophomore advanced curriculum. Cole walked them to the door. Before they could even step out of the office, all 3 turned back in unison, as if by silent pact. A shared, unspoken longing flashed in their eyes. Cole felt a sense of foreboding. Don't tell me they're... The thought had barely formed when they rushed him, all at once. 6 arms scrambled for purchase, overlapping and then quickly finding empty space. In 2 seconds, Cole was cinched tight by 3 pairs of arms wrapped around his upper, middle, and lower torso. The girls hadn't expected the same impulse to strike them all. Their eyes met, and a wave of awkwardness washed over the room. Cole froze for a second, then a light bulb went off in his head. Wasn't this the perfect opportunity? Seeing them about to pull away, he quickly spread his arms wide, wrapping them around all 3 girls and pulling them into a tight group hug. Their waists were so slender that he could encircle all of them and still have his hands resting on Jasmine's back in the middle, pressing them even closer together. Cole, thick-skinned Chun, adopted a deadly serious tone. Don't worry, I'll be careful. With you 3 here, there's no way I'll let anything happen to me. He fought back the powerful urge to kiss each one of them. That would be going too far, an offense to their pride. A subtle hint to encourage their harmony was enough for now. The girls' emotions were a tangled mess. They had always known, on some level, but this was the first time they had been held together like this, their shared affection laid bare. No woman wants to share her man, but a combination of psychological factors had led them to a tacit, unspoken agreement. Thankfully, Cole released them right after he finished speaking. His face was a mask of genuine emotion, as if he were simply overcome with gratitude. It made it impossible to criticize him and ease the intensity of their embarrassment. On the elevator ride down, the 3 of them were silent, none knowing what to say. It wasn't until they were in Cole's Audi and Sasha had started the car that Jasmine finally spoke. We need to keep an eye on the other women trying to get their hooks into Cole. A part of her was miserable, even though she had prepared herself for this. Even though she wanted to give Cole the chance to have more children, the reality of it was still painful. It felt like a piece of her heart was being carved out. He was her Cole, yet she had to share him. The thought was agonizing, but other factors were tempering her grief. These past few days, she'd overheard countless female students talking about Cole. They all wanted to meet him, to get close to him. Some of the bolder ones even said they'd be happy to be his mistress. Alex had told her the same thing. The talk was everywhere. This was Eastwood Tech, a top-tier university. The moment a young, handsome, and successful shortcut appeared, some of the girls started getting ideas. Even if it was only a fraction of the student body, out of 20,000 women, it was a staggering number. Jasmine realized she couldn't fend them off alone. A boy this exceptional was like a fresh-baked loaf of bread dropped among starving refugees. And then there was the crutch girl stirring up trouble. There was no telling who else might get bold. She couldn't completely rely on Cole's self-control either. What if he had too much to drink one night, and someone took advantage, and got pregnant? The thought terrified her. These two might occupy a piece of Cole's heart, but at least they were good people, and Cole had still only been with her, which was a significant comfort. But it was bound to happen eventually. The thought was infuriating, utterly infuriating. Beside her, Sabrina and Luna both murmured, "Okay, Jasmine, we will." Serena's feelings were a whirlwind. At first, she'd imagined a happy world just for the two of them. But gradually, she realized that wasn't the case. Their world for two still existed, but others had one as well. Was she unhappy? Yes. Could she leave? No. The thought of a life without Cole was like a knife to the heart. It made her feel like she didn't want to live. The idea of finding someone better was something she immediately dismissed, refusing to ever entertain it again. Cole was the best. He understood her, respected her, and their life together was sweet and relaxed. This was good enough. Her heart had room only for Cole, only for this comfortable life. She never wanted to go back to being a puppet. She didn't want any other messy relationships. She just had to look at her roommates to know what that was like. And besides, maybe the other two would give up on their own someday. Luna's emotions were complex, but not overwhelmingly so. Just having Cole in her life made her happy. Her world was safe and sweet. The other girls had known Cole long before she did. She had no right to complain. Of course, she wanted him all to herself, but she knew that was unlikely. She could feel how much Cole cared for the other two. What comforted her was that he never played favorites. He cherished and protected her just as much. Still, if the other two were to voluntarily give up, she would be even happier. The three of them glanced at each other, seeing the same conflict reflected in each other's eyes. But by some unspoken consensus, they didn't attack one another. This wasn't the time for internal conflict. Countless honey traps were closing in on their Cole. The situation was perilous. For now, they had to stand united against the outside world. First, secure the borders. Then, they could figure out how to manage the interior. The fight for his heart was one they would still have to wage. New York City. On the 19th floor of the downtown News Center building, the setting sun painted the glass facade in shades of gold. Inside the operations director's office, the young man in the dress shirt who had hired Julia Lilly walked to the window and pushed it open. He looked down at the police car that had just pulled into the parking lot, his eyes filled with a violent internal struggle. The whole thing had unraveled with shocking speed. He'd pulled this stunt a dozen times without a single misstep. Several big names had fallen into his traps. His long streak of success had made him believe he could get away with it forever. Now, it was time to pay the price. 10 minutes ago, a message had appeared on the burner phone he used, the one with only a single contact. It told him the police would be there in a few minutes. It gave him one final task. It promised his wife and child $2 million to see them through. If he didn't comply, the outcome would be the same, only far worse for his family. When he read the message, he felt like he'd been struck by lightning. The ending he'd always feared but gambled against had finally arrived. He was filled with a bitter resentment. He was only 26 when his patron had noticed him, elevating him to his current position. He'd married a beautiful woman 5 years his junior and had a chubby son. He had the luxury car, the penthouse apartment, and 4 or 5 mistresses on the side. He was a true success story, the envy of his old classmates, childhood friends, and neighbors. He'd lived 6 comfortable years. At first, he'd thought he was truly talented, that he'd earned the recognition. Only later did he slowly come to understand the truth. His patron just needed a suitable tool, and this tool was only responsible for collection. It wasn't even qualified to participate in the subsequent transactions. As these thoughts raced through his mind, 4 police officers got out of the car below. Doubt began to creep in. Could he fight this? Even if it meant prison? He crushed the thought as soon as it appeared. The consequences of disobeying were more than he could bear. He knew too much. His patron would worry. The 4 officers entered the building, disappearing from his view. He looked out at the nearby skyscrapers. Was his patron watching him right now? He climbed onto the windowsill, looking down the 50-odd meters to the ground. His expression suddenly twisted into a ferocious snarl. He leaped. Fuck his recognition. As he fell, flashes of his adorable child, his wife, his parents, and his relatives shot through his mind. So this was it. The things you get for free are always the most expensive. In the final second, a smile flickered across his lips, a mixture of contempt and self-mockery. A dull thud echoed from below. A red flower bloomed on the solid concrete. A kilometer away, on the rooftop of another skyscraper, a middle-aged man lowered his binoculars, his face devoid of any expression. A month from now, he said dispassionately, buy the antique from his parents' house for $2 million. The so-called antique would be some hastily aged trinket. The transaction needed a pretext and had to be distanced from this sensitive period. But they would pay the money. Failing to do so would undermine his authority. Someone behind him replied, understood. The middle-aged man added, after the money is transferred, pull the Wren back to the States for a 6-month sabbatical. Yes, sir. The Wren was just a code name. The tool had a weakness for young, doll-faced women. There was no better set of eyes to have on him than his own partner, ensuring they knew the moment the tool showed any signs of losing control. Cultivating a tool actually meant paying 2 salaries. It was a steep price, but the returns were even greater. Third uncle, another, younger voice asked from behind, why don't we just place someone next to the target himself? Why? The middle-aged man shot the speaker a cold glare. Did your brain grow in your big toe? If the person we sent succeeded, do you think they'd still be satisfied with the salary we offer? And if they failed, it would be a complete waste of time. We want leverage on people, not a report on when they fart. Ask another question like that, and you can go home. Back in Rockford, Cole received a call from Officer Miller that evening. The attempt to capture the mastermind had failed. The target was an operations director at a media company. By the time the police arrived, the man had already jumped from his office window 3 minutes earlier. He'd left a suicide note in his office, claiming he suffered from severe depression and a psychological disorder that made him want to watch famous people in bed. He wrote that he was overwhelmed by his guilt and couldn't face the consequences, and he offered a written apology to his victim. Over the phone, Officer Miller sounded helpless. Mr. Chun, there's nothing more we can do. Thank you, Officer Miller. I understand, Cole said with a smile, though a grave look flickered in his eyes. From now on, he'd really have to travel with a security team. It was only 2011. He couldn't afford to be so reckless. He wasn't surprised by the outcome. It just meant someone else was hiding even deeper in the shadows. They couldn't just grab him off the street, but he had to guard against other disgusting tactics. In his past life, even a titan like Richard Liu of J.D. Com had nearly fallen into a similar trap abroad. The case was closed. Without concrete evidence, no one was going to play Sherlock Holmes and dig any deeper. It was out of Cole's hands now. The police didn't issue a public statement and had privately communicated with Cole their desire to handle it quietly. Cole had no objections. If it became public, people would still find a way to spin it into a story. The world was full of malicious people who thrived on rumors. It would just ignite another online firestorm. Netizens often lacked discernment. All it took was a few verified accounts on Twitter pretending to be experts, and they would all rush in for a chaotic pile-on. The next day, the partnership with Pacesetter Footwear was officially finalized. They signed a formal advertising contract, with a payment of $1.5 million due within 3 days. Pacesetter CEO Mr. Liu had no experience creating his own content, so he entrusted the entire operation to Headline Today. $1.5 million sounded like a lot, but for a TV ad, it will buy less than 5 seconds of airtime, and not necessarily during prime time. The female model for the shoe ad was still Amy, but Cole designated Preston for the men's shoes. The two would shoot the campaign together. Mr. Liu had some reservations. Mr. Chun, wouldn't it be better to hire a minor celebrity? Cole just smiled. Mr. Liu, with celebrities, you either go big or you don't go at all. We can't afford a big one. And if we hire a small one, it's hard to say who's advertising for whom. He patiently explained, a celebrity endorsement might seem authoritative, but it rarely creates an emotional connection. Think about it, Mr. Liu. When you see a celebrity endorsement, do you feel anything? Happiness, excitement, sadness? No, not at all. You could say I feel nothing, Mr. Liu admitted after a moment's thought. For the sake of the $1.5 million check, Cole continued his lesson. Celebrity ads are formulaic. They're polished, but no one pays them much attention. Influencers might be grassroots, but their short-form skits are incredibly engaging. Netizens are drawn to their emotional energy, which makes the product more memorable. Our shoes are for ordinary people, so we need to appeal to ordinary people's tastes. Mr. Lou was still only half convinced, but Headline Today's advertising prowess was undeniable. He chose to trust them. When Amy, who was in the middle of shooting another short, got the news, she was ecstatic. This was a huge deal. On top of her ad revenue share, there would be a bonus. She was overflowing with gratitude for Cole. She came from an ordinary family and was now earning a handsome income. Meanwhile, minor celebrities were still begging and scraping, relying on sleeping their way to commercial opportunities. At Headline Today, she had nothing to worry about. Besides her assistant, her roommate's eyes were green with envy. Back in the dorms, Preston was stunned. He hadn't expected Cole to be so generous, entrusting him with $1 million ad campaign, and shooting with Amy, no less. He was beyond flattered. The two of them headed to Headline Today to brainstorm the video script with the operations department. When they were struggling to come up with a good concept, Cole offered an idea. Whitney from the ops team was dumbfounded. Even Preston, the master of absurdist humor, thought it was too absurd. Amy, however, was unfazed. Whatever Mr. Chin said was right. It took 3 days to polish the script and only 1 day to shoot. It was the story of a dorky CEO furiously chasing a Cinderella figure. The dorky so chases her relentlessly while Cinderella runs ahead, shouting, "Stop chasing me. I don't want to marry into a rich family." But he can't catch her. Then a white-bearded old man holding a special effects sign appears to him in a dream and, smiling, gives him a pair of pace setters. The result? Not only does he catch her, but he blows past her by a huge margin, going on to win the 100-meter dash. The dorky so stands triumphantly, holding his trophy high, leaving a dust-covered Cinderella staring blankly in his wake. A very abstract love story. Within half an hour of the video's release, it had over 300,000 likes and was climbing rapidly. The comment section was on fire. Pace setters. The shoes of a madman. He caught her, but it's like he didn't catch her at all. Don't talk him out of it. Let him win. All right. I'm buying these shoes. He's really chasing her. In his office, Cole watched with a smile. This was how you did advertising. Nothing made a product more memorable than the feeling of joy. Besides having Amy and Preston shoot the main campaign, he also sent out offers to other influencers with over 300,000 followers covering a range of genres. Each influencer had their own dedicated audience. To spread the message quickly, you had to cast a wide net. It was the same principle as a game being promoted on TikTok, with tons of influencers all pushing it at once. That was how you achieved maximum effect. But this wasn't the complete campaign. Cole sent a team to Paysetter's factory to film the handcrafting process and to conduct an on-site interview with Mr. Lou. This was to deepen the netizens' impression of the brand, to let them know that, Paysetter wasn't just fun, it was also serious about quality. In just over a week, Paysetter's reputation skyrocketed, and so did its sales. Whether in their brick-and-mortar stores or their online shops on Amazon and eBay, sales saw a significant jump. In the Paysetter footwear corporate office, Mr. Lou looked at the latest sales data, his expression one of immense relief. He had been the first in his industry to risk a 7-figure sum on a Headline Today campaign, and he had faced enormous pressure from his board. Now, seeing the results, he was overjoyed. Sometimes, all a product needs is its moment in the spotlight. Headline Today had delivered that for Paysetter. Perhaps the upper middle class and self-proclaimed elites would still scoff, but the vast majority of the country was made up of ordinary people. If the high-end route was blocked, then don't take it. The mainstream market was so massive, you could eat your fill and then some. And the users on Headline Today were almost all ordinary people. It was a perfect market match. He picked up his phone and made a special call to Cole Chun at Headline Today. He had to express his gratitude. At Headline Today, Cole gracefully declined Mr. Lou's invitation to dinner. Eating out was something he was avoiding for now. As Paysetter's campaign went viral, calls from brands across various industries began flooding Headline Today. They were clearly intrigued. The business development department was getting busier and busier. Headline Today's current organizational structure was no longer sufficient. Cole called another management meeting and began to further specialize the departments. The development department was upgraded to the R&D center. Wyatt was promoted to vice president, responsible for managing it. Within the R&D center, a product center was established with Leo as director, managing all product managers. Marcus remained the director of the AI research lab. Cole's primary investment was pouring into the AI lab. Though Marcus's division was small, its importance was second to none at Headline today. The finance department became the finance center, and Luna was promoted to chief financial officer. A simple department was no longer enough. They needed dedicated finance teams for each project. The administration department was transformed into the human resources center, with Jasmine as executive vice president, essentially the head of personnel. The legal department became the legal support center, with Sabrina promoted to chief legal officer. The business department was now the commercial center, with Yvonne as vice president of business development. All regional office heads were promoted to director level. The planning department was renamed the operations center, with Whitney as vice president of operations. The editorial department remained unchanged for now, with Fiona holding a VP-level position. The web novel platform was slated to launch by early next year at the latest, and Fiona was already preparing for it at Cole's direction. Once the novel site was established, the main Headline Today editorial team would remain, with Lynn Fan taking over. The goal of this restructuring was to add more small departments, defining roles and responsibilities for every single task. It was normal for a growing internet company to have multiple vice presidents. By delegating authority and providing resources, the company could grow into a towering tree. Cole himself would serve as president and CEO, overseeing the entire operation. After the meeting, everyone was buzzing with excitement. They had been promoted and given raises. And Cole's vision for the future was even more thrilling. That evening, by Waverly Point on North Lake near Eastwood University, Sabrina Ning sat by the water, quietly watching her 3 roommates take pictures on the wooden dock. Her mind, however, was deep in thought. Her failure a few days ago gnawed at her. That feeling of being ignored was eating away at her heart, moment by moment. No one could ignore her, Sabrina Ning. Not in the past, not now, and not ever in the future. Plenty of guys nearby were stealing glances at her, but she felt nothing. The thrill of being the center of attention was gone. A bigger challenge awaited her. How was she supposed to conquer a man who wouldn't fall for her tricks? Sabrina's thoughts turned to the 3 girls. What exactly was their relationship with Cole? Did they know about each other? Or were they all vying for the top spot, locked in a fierce competition? Over the past few days, Sabrina had gathered a good deal of information on them. But it wasn't a matter of calling her family's assistant and demanding all their information within 3 minutes. That wasn't realistic. Instead, she had inquired among students and faculty at both universities, including Eastwood Tech. Gathering personal information really did have a cost. Her family wouldn't waste resources on such trivial matters. She had recently read a novel on Headline Today where a domineering CEO had said, 3 minutes. I want all her information. It had made her laugh. The one named Jasmine Young was apparently Cole's stepsister, though they weren't related by blood. She was also the reigning campus belle of Eastwood Tech, a title no one had been able to usurp. Her financial situation was good, and she always dressed tastefully. The one named Serena Shen supposedly came from a family with government connections, and the one named Luna came from a poor family and had only made it big after meeting Cole. Sabrina couldn't figure it out. The 3 girls clearly had a deep relationship with Cole. So how did they coexist so peacefully? Why were they all tying themselves to this one tree? As she thought, a strangely confident smile spread across Sabrina's lips. Since you won't give me the time of day, I'll just start with the people around you. Everyone has a weakness. She refused to believe that these 3 girls didn't. The next afternoon, the staff at Headline Today noticed that the crutch girl was back again, asking for Mr. Chun. The receptionist naturally said he wasn't in, but the crutch girl didn't seem to care. She said it was fine if he wasn't there. She was just there to experience the atmosphere of a startup. The receptionist couldn't say much more. A visitor was a visitor, and Headline Today wouldn't kick someone out. When Jasmine came to the office to handle some matters, she saw the person sitting on the sofa, and her brow furrowed slightly. Hello, VP Young. My name is Sabrina Ning. It's a pleasure to meet you. Sabrina stood up and extended her hand, her smile brilliant, as if she truly wasn't there for Cole. Oh, hello. Jasmine shook her hand and nodded. Can I help you with something? She didn't dwell on how the girl knew her name. That wasn't hard to find out. Nothing in particular. I didn't come specifically from Mr. Chun. My family also runs a company, so I wanted to experience the environment of Eastwood's best startup. I get bored when I don't have class, and I thought since there are a lot of girls here, I'd come to visit and learn. Sabrina's smile was tinged with a hint of embarrassment, a touch of fear that she might be kicked out. I see. Well, have a seat. I have to get back to work, Jasmine replied with a polite smile, though she was inwardly skeptical. But the girl hadn't said she was looking for Cole, so she couldn't say anything. Company affairs had been hectic recently. Even Sabrina had to come in to handle contract revisions. Sabrina greeted all three of them. Even when Cole had to come out to deal with something, Sabrina just offered a polite smile and called him senior, and that was it. She really did seem like just a visitor. For several days in a row, either in the morning or the afternoon, Sabrina would come and sit at Headline Today, seemingly curious about everything. She'd wander around, looking here and there. Whenever the three girls were present, she would strike up a conversation, asking them naive questions about business operations under the guise of seeking advice. And the entire time, she never once sought out Mr. Chun. After a while, even the receptionist got to know her and would chat with her for a few minutes. Although the three girls were wary, they couldn't figure out what she was up to. Maybe it was intentional, maybe not. It was hard to say. She hadn't mentioned her request for Cole's help with her performance again. On the surface, at least, it didn't seem like Sabrina was interested in Cole. And when someone approached them with a bright smile, it was hard to just ignore them. The three of them had no choice but to chat with her for a bit. At first glance, it seemed Sabrina was more interested in talking to the female employees, which put them somewhat at ease. This particular afternoon, the 4 o'clock sun baked the ground. Luna had just finished her taxation class. She was walking back to her dorm with Brianna and Felicity, staying in the shade of the trees. "Hello, senior," a girl's voice called from the side of the road. Luna looked up and saw a familiar face. Sabrina Ning was standing by the road, next to a car that looked incredibly luxurious. She was wearing a yellow t-shirt with lettering and a pair of denim shorts. Her expression was one of pleasant surprise, as if she hadn't expected to run into her here. "Hello," Luna replied with a polite smile. "I was just visiting a relative, and I don't have class this afternoon. The shade here looks so nice, I decided to stop for a bit," Sabrina explained. "Yes, it's quite nice," Luna said noncommittally. The road was shared by cars and pedestrians and did indeed lead toward the School of Arts. "If you don't have class, let's go get something to drink. I'm so bored back at my dorm. Here, I only know you guys and my roommates, but I don't have much in common with them," Sabrina said, her face full of anticipation, her hands fidgeting in front of her. "It's too hot. I was thinking of heading back to my room," Luna declined with an apologetic look. "Don't worry about the heat. We could drive." "Oh, come on, just keep me company. We'll just talk," Sabrina said, pointing to the Maybach 6S her driver had brought over. Then she started acting cute and pleading. This put Luna in a difficult position. The girl didn't seem to be after Cole, which had dissipated most of her initial dislike. Making a new friend wasn't out of the question. She looked at Brianna and Felicity. Felicity, let's all go together." "My treat." "Sure," they both agreed immediately. Sabrina beamed. "Great. The more the merrier." This lowered Luna's guard even further. Maybe I really did misunderstand her. Maybe she really just wanted my brother's help back then. "Let's just go to the dining hall then. They sell drinks there," Luna suggested, pointing toward the nearby Oakwood Commons. She didn't want to get in someone else's car. "Anything's fine. It's fun just to chat, even in the sun," Sabrina said with a sweet, joyful smile. The four of them slowly walked to the dining hall, where there was indeed a milk tea shop. The selection was limited, and the atmosphere was lacking. Students didn't really like to hang out there. It felt like something was missing. Since it was Luna's treat, Sabrina only ordered the cheapest item on the menu, a lemon green tea. The fact that a girl who drove a luxury car and wore expensive clothes was so considerate made a good impression on Brianna and Felicity. The four of them sat together and chatted. Luna and her friends found that Sabrina was a great conversationalist. She didn't talk about luxury goods or anything like that. She always managed to find topics they could all participate in, which made for a great atmosphere. They went from talking about the hardships of their senior year of high school to a classmate who had hidden a 2-year relationship until after graduation. Gradually, the conversation shifted to what they looked for in a partner. Luna and her friends didn't notice anything amiss, as they had discussed similar topics last year. However, Luna and Felicity, being more observant, noticed a cup of green tea that was still basically full, while their own drinks were already empty. "I never dated in high school. I just didn't want to. I felt like the boys and I were both too immature," Sabrina said, chewing on her straw, a nostalgic look in her eyes. The lemon green tea in her cup still looked full, as if she could sip on it forever without it diminishing. "That's how I felt too. It's better to wait until you're more mature to date," Felicity agreed. Luna remained silent. Her high school years had been a constant struggle, always hoping to change her life through education. She'd had no time to think about such things. Besides, she had loathed the leering gazes of some of her male classmates. A glint appeared in Sabrina's eyes, and her face lit up with aspiration. "In the future, I want to find someone I love and who loves me back. We'll build our own world, just the two of us." A world for two. Luna's heart stirred. Those 4 words struck something deep inside her. Of course, she wanted a world with just her and Cole. Only the two of them. But what about you, Luna? Sabrina asked casually, then acted as if she'd just remembered something. Oh, I forgot. I saw Senior Chen wiping sweat off your face at the Riverbend Pavilion. You two are a couple, aren't you? Huh. Luna smiled and nodded. While some things weren't for public broadcast, she had to acknowledge the truth. But then she heard Sabrina say, with a teasing tone, that time I asked Senior Chun for help with my performance, you didn't think I liked him, did you? Before Luna could answer, she let out another laugh. He's not my type. Besides, he already has you as his girlfriend, so there's no way I'd go after him. I either don't date, or I find someone who'll be only mine. Senior Chun is definitely outstanding, but he already has you. I wouldn't go after him even if you were the last man on earth. As she spoke, Sabrina watched Luna's expression closely, noticing it dim slightly. Sabrina smirked inwardly, but her face remained a picture of innocent sincerity. She emphasized again, I only want someone who is exclusively mine. If I had to share a boy with other girls, that would be absolutely impossible. It doesn't matter how amazing he is. I have money. I don't need to rely on anyone. He has to love only me. That's my principle. With that, she took a hard suck on her lemon green tea, not actually drawing a single drop. She would never let such a low-grade green tea touch her lips. She subtly glanced at Luna and saw that her face had grown pale, her eyes no longer calm. Deep inside, Sabrina sneered. A girl from a poor family who suddenly strikes it rich. Wouldn't she want to have it all to herself? Impossible. The thought of all that wealth being shared with others must be agonizing. Beside them, Brianna and Felicity's expressions had also stiffened. They exchanged a look and then turned to Luna, seeing that her face had indeed lost its earlier softness. They both glanced back at Sabrina. Was this girl saying this on purpose? Or was it just a slip of the tongue? Just then, Luna said faintly, You're absolutely right. Sabrina's heart leaped. See? Everyone has a weakness. But then she heard Luna add, Sabrina, please, stick to your principles. I'm tired, and I want to go back to my room. Sorry. Luna stood up, her eyes a placid lake, and walked toward the dining hall exit. Brianna and Felicity stood up and followed her. This left Sabrina a bit stunned. On the surface, she put on a panicked expression. What's wrong, Senior? Did I say something wrong? But Luna didn't turn back, just gave a little wave. Senior, I'm so sorry. Did I say something to offend you? Sabrina stood up and called out, feigning anxiety. But the three of them paid her no mind. Watching Luna's retreating back, Sabrina's lips curled into a disdainful sneer. You heard me, didn't you? Good. Just let that resentment and bitterness fester. She glanced down at the green tea on the table and covered her mouth, gagging slightly. The thought of that cheap, industrialized product, even just touching the straw, made her feel sick. It was disgusting. Outside the dining hall, Felicity asked as they walked, Luna, are you okay? I'm fine. What she said actually reminded me of something, Luna said with a small smile, her usual gentleness returning. She was now certain that Sabrina had deliberately steered the conversation in that direction. Perhaps someone else would have truly taken it to heart, letting it take root and sprout. But Luna had been hearing all sorts of suggestions since middle school. How a girl as pretty as her should marry someone rich, how so-and-so's family had money and was very concerned about her well-being. Most importantly, Sabrina had crossed her bottom line. Her relationship with Cole was no one else's business. Not even a hint was acceptable. That was her principle. At first, she had been drawn in by the idea of a world for two. But that cup of green tea, which never seemed to get any emptier, had made her wary. It didn't fit with the otherwise harmonious atmosphere. It seemed the girl's real intentions lay elsewhere. Just then, Felicity shook her head. That girl talks a good game, but I noticed she didn't drink any of that lemon green tea. She was just pretending. I feel like, deep down, she looks down on us. I got that feeling too. She didn't drink a single drop. If you're not going to drink it, don't order it. It's not like we wouldn't let her order something else. Ugh, some people. Isn't it exhausting to pretend all the time? Brianna sighed, shaking her head. She had initially thought that despite her wealth, the girl was fairly down to earth. But the cup of lemon green tea had exposed her facade. It made sense. Someone from a rich family like hers would never drink a $2 beverage. If it weren't for her agenda, she probably wouldn't have even walked with them. Brianna thought of Cole, Jasmine, and Serena. When they ordered something, they drank it regardless of their wealth. The difference between people was staggering. Just ignore her. If she wants to put on a show, let her perform for herself, Luna said, decisively cutting Sabrina from her social circle. It was best to stay as far away as possible from someone with such a twisted and calculating mind. I just don't get it. What is she trying to achieve? Why just randomly come and stir up trouble? What does it have to do with her? Brianna said indignantly. Felicity scoffed. What else could it be? If you can't have it, destroy it. She was born with a silver spoon in her mouth, a precious princess. Mr. Shin rejected her request for help, and she couldn't handle it. In psychology, it's called narcissistic personality disorder, also known as princess syndrome. Princess? The monarchy was abolished a long time ago, Brianna said disdainfully. She couldn't stand such manipulative games. Back in her dorm, Luna opened a private group chat called The Stars. Jasmine had created it. There were only 3 of them in it. There were some things girls needed to discuss amongst themselves, things they couldn't say in front of Cole, like fending off other girls with ulterior motives. Luna objectively recounted what had happened, without adding her own subjective feelings. Jasmine and Sabrina were both women with strong opinions. They could make their own judgments. Jasmine replied quickly, "Just ignore her. If we're not watching, she's just performing for an empty room." Sabrina added, "I agree, but I suggest we could play along a little when she approaches us. Let her get lost in her own self-satisfaction." Jasmine, that's a good idea. The emotions she's trying to create will just bounce back on her. Luna, okay. The next time she comes looking for me, I'll indulge her a little. All 3 of them were highly intelligent. They just didn't like conflict. But when someone came knocking at their door with malicious intent, they had to respond. Otherwise, people would think they were easy targets. Afterward, Luna sent the same message to Cole. The 3 of them guarding against other women was a topic best kept from him, but Sabrina's actions needed to be reported. Even though it was highly unlikely Cole would fall for it, it was still important to give him a heads up. At Headline Today, Cole saw Luna's icon pop up and opened the message. The contents made him frown. That Sabrina Ning was really something else. What on earth was she trying to do? Did she have nothing better to do? This girl was dangerous. She was trying to drive a wedge between his 3 babies. Cole's first instinct was to type, "Stay away from her, I'll handle it," but after a moment's thought, he deleted it. Instead, he wrote, "Okay, got it. Make sure you tell VP Yang and VP Shun about this too." He knew they had their own private group chat. He just pretended he didn't. 3 women were a drama in themselves, and it was better for him to feign ignorance about some of their conversations. Besides, whatever they discussed would eventually reach his ears anyway. No one kept secrets from him. It was just awkward for them to discuss other women in front of him. Luna replied, "Already told them, brother. They said we can pretend to play along and let her get lost in her own world." Cole chuckled, instantly relieved. They were all so clever. Ignoring a woman like that wouldn't work. She'd just find another way. And confronting her directly was also a bad idea. She would seize the opportunity to play the role of the kind, wealthy girl being bullied, which would put them on the defensive. Pretending to cooperate was the best approach. Let Sabrina think her scheme was succeeding, which would keep her from trying other tricks. When she finally realized that they had been watching her performance all along, what would that feel like? However, he couldn't just let this malicious woman off the hook. When the time came for a showdown, he'd make sure she got what she deserved. Cole leaned back in his chair, propping his feet up on his desk. Everything had 2 sides. Encountering a psycho like this wasn't necessarily a bad thing. At least it was bringing his 3 babies closer together, which was a huge help in achieving his goal of having 3 wives. He glanced at the calendar on his desk. Next month was Luna's birthday. What should he get her? Last year, she hadn't mentioned it, and he hadn't yet discovered her assets, so he hadn't asked. Over the next few days, Sabrina came to Headline Today twice more, maintaining her posture of a diligent student. The 3 girls were also there when they didn't have classes. Jasmine and Serena continued to chat with her casually. Only Luna, following the script, remained quiet, as if she were in a bad mood. Luna had always been a woman of few words. She might not be a great actress, but she could certainly play the part of someone who was ignoring people. Saturday, Serena went to the library early in the morning. Now that Headline Today had grown, she had to immerse herself in legal knowledge. If she didn't go early, she wouldn't get a seat. The Eastwood University Library was tucked away in a quiet corner of the campus. Many students, like Serena, were early risers. When she was still about 2 kilometers from the library, someone called her from the side of the road. Serena. Serena knew who it was just from the voice. Right on cue, she thought. She saw Sabrina and 2 other girls approaching from another direction. The probability of 2 acquaintances from different schools meeting on the way to the library was exactly 0. Serena wondered who had sold her out. It probably wasn't Zoe. Her roommate's ambitions were sky high. She could believe Zoe would sell her out to her mother, but selling her whereabouts to someone else was less likely. Her other roommates were a more probable source. They were more social and could easily have been impressed by Sabrina's background. Her other roommates knew less about her. To them, the patronage of Professor Lin paled in comparison to the daughter of a tycoon. Hello, Serena said with a polite smile, her eyes carefully voided of emotion. I didn't expect to see you heading to the library so early too, Sabrina said, walking over with a laugh. She was also beautiful, with a small dimple that made her smile quite charming. Passing male students kept casting glances their way. One girl was bright and enthusiastic, the other cool and distant. Gotta go early to get a seat, Serena stated the simple truth. Haha, me too. Sabrina laughed, her voice clear and bright. Compared to how she had treated Luna, her eyes held a bit more respect for Serena. Serena's father's position warranted equal treatment. The Ning family often dealt with city officials. They needed favorable policies, and city officials needed investment from capital. They always greeted the Nings with a smile. From an economic perspective, money and a certain level of power could be considered equals. In fact, she felt the Nings were a cut above. As for Serena's mother being a county-level education director, that was basically negligible. The four of them chatted as they walked towards the library. The library was huge, composed of several buildings divided into different sections. The law and music departments were in separate areas. Serena, let's have lunch together, Sabrina suggested before they went inside. Sure, Serena replied with a faint smile. This Sabrina was patient. She hadn't said anything pointed on the way to the library. If she kept it up, that would be great. It would save Serena the effort of playing along. But the lunch invitation clearly meant she intended to say something. Fine, say what you want, Serena thought. I'll let you have your stage. The time spent engrossed in her books passed quickly. 3 hours later, Serena left the library and saw Sabrina already waiting where they had parted that morning. Her two roommates were gone, probably having left earlier. Serena, let's eat out. The food at Eastwood's cafeterias wasn't bad, and the quality was good, but Sabrina still preferred eating out. It was unavoidable on weekdays, but there was no need to compromise on a weekend. She figured that as the daughter of a high-ranking city official, Serena would likely agree. But Serena's response surprised her. Let's just go to the cafeteria. I'm too lazy to go that far. Well, okay, I guess. I rarely eat at the cafeteria. I always feel like the oil isn't very clean. Though reluctant, Sabrina agreed. You can trust Eastwood's cafeterias. The management is quite strict. A subtle curve appeared on Serena's lips, and her gaze held a hint of something deeper. Those high-end restaurants outside are all the same. They look glamorous, but you never know what kind of oil they're using behind the scenes. That's true, Sabrina chuckled. The look in the other girl's eyes was strange, but she couldn't quite put her finger on why. It was as if the person speaking had never eaten at a high-end restaurant, but was pretending to be dismissive. Could this city official's family be completely incorruptible? Sabrina had seen all sorts in her family's dealings. There were greedy officials, and there were naively upright ones. The latter usually ran on pure idealism. She hadn't bothered to find out which category Serena's father fell into. The thought of having to eat in a noisy cafeteria on a weekend made Sabrina feel irritated. She almost didn't want to go, but then that feeling of being ignored bubbled up again, an intense discomfort, as if she had become a laughingstock and lost all face. An image of Chin appeared in her mind. Oof, senior, you're too full of yourself. You think you can ignore me just because you're surrounded by beautiful women? You think you're so great because you have a successful startup? Compared to my Ning family, you're nothing. Sabrina gave herself a mental pep talk and instantly recalibrated her mood. It was all for the game anyway. She could endure a little discomfort. Near the library was the medical school's apricot garden commons. It was one of the largest of Eastwood's 34 dining halls, specifically serving students from a medical school and the library. When the two of them walked in, they naturally drew a lot of attention. In terms of pure looks, Serena was a notch higher. Combined with her cool, aloof aura, she was the most eye-catching. Sabrina's advantage was her constant smile. Simple, friendly, and seemingly curious about everything. Moreover, her clothes were clearly more high-end. She looked like a rich girl at a glance. That title carried a powerful bonus effect. The saying, fine feathers make fine birds, was really about how clothes reflected your status. It was like playing basketball, someone in a jersey versus someone in overalls. People would instinctively see the latter as aristocratic, and might even start singing, "You're too beautiful." This proved that expensive was beautiful. When they got their food and sat down, a buzz of conversation started in the cafeteria. Is that Sabrina Ning? Yeah. Headline today has a video of her singing at the freshman showcase. The belle of the School of Arts. She's really good, saying the whole thing in English flawlessly. Looks like Eastwood is going to produce a singer. Not necessarily. I heard she's a personal protege of the dean of the School of Arts. Her future is bright. She probably won't be a singer. Her family is so rich. This is probably just a hobby for her. Serena was waiting for Sabrina to start her spiel when a guy from a nearby table spoke up. Hi, Sabrina. I heard you sing at the showcase. Hello. Sabrina immediately responded with a bright, polite smile, radiating warmth and approachability. Sabrina. Sing a song, Sabrina. The calls echoed from several nearby tables. Other girls also greeted her, seemingly eager to get to know her. In contrast, Serena caused no such stir. She never went out of her way to be seen and was only recognized by a few people in the law school. Online, a small number might remember her as the legal VP of Headline Today, but her fame was nothing compared to the publicly visible Sabrina. At that moment, Sabrina's mood was euphoric. She waved with a radiant smile at the students greeting her from all sides. The gloom of eating in the cafeteria vanished. The feeling of being famous was just that good. So many upperclassmen and peers knew her. It gave her a tremendous sense of accomplishment. As she greeted them, her peripheral vision caught the cold, quiet Serena across from her. A feeling of smug satisfaction washed over her. Who was the darling of the masses? Who was the one with the halo? The difference was obvious. It was her, Sabrina Ning. Meanwhile, Serena quietly ate her meal. If the person opposite her didn't start talking soon, she was going to finish and leave. The noisy environment was seriously affecting her appetite. After a while, the group of students finally dispersed. Sabrina put on an apologetic expression. Sorry about that. My classmates are just too enthusiastic. I only sang one little song. I'm not some celebrity. It's all a bit embarrassing. It's fine. But I'm almost done eating, Serena said, her expression unchanged, offering a subtle hint. Saw thee, eat slower, wait for me, Sabrina said, quickly picking up her chopsticks and poking at her plate. She picked up a piece of green vegetable and put it in her mouth, her brow furrowing as if it were hard to swallow. While picking out what she considered edible, she asked with a curious expression, Serena, how did you get into Headline Today? I interviewed, Serena said casually. Why? You want to join? No. If I were to join a company, it would be Viridian Global. I'm not interested in money. I just want to be a singer, Sabrina said, shaking her head with an air of proud indifference. Then why are you asking me this question? Serena glanced at her. Sabrina put down her chopsticks. I am curious about one thing. You're the legal counsel at Headline Today. Is it because you're Senior Chen's girlfriend? Being the legal counsel is one thing. Being his girlfriend is another. They're two separate matters, Serena replied, rephrasing her answer. She wanted to be his girlfriend, and she wanted to be a good legal counsel. The two weren't mutually exclusive. But wouldn't a law student have a better future in civil service? Isn't being tied down at Headline Today a bit of a waste of time? Sabrina didn't mention that she knew Serena was the daughter of a high-ranking official. It's not a waste of time if you're doing what you want to do, Serena replied smoothly. The opening moves had begun, but the critical moment hadn't arrived yet. I really admire you for that. If it were me, I would definitely go into politics, Sabrina said with a sigh. Teach their own, I guess. Serena had finished all the rice in her bowl and was now picking at the remaining vegetables. Can't be wasteful. So, how did you and Senior Chen meet? Did he pursue you? Sabrina's gaze seemed casual, but she was concentrating, not wanting to miss a single flicker of expression on the other girl's face. Of course. We were classmates in middle and high school, Serena said with a faint smile. She knew Sabrina was making her move. I'm so envious of you. Senior Chen is so handsome and successful. Any girl would like him, Sabrina said, her eyes filled with envy. You like him too? Serena looked at her. Of course. Who wouldn't? It's a shame he already has a girlfriend, Sabrina sighed. Once a guy has a girlfriend, I stop paying attention. After a pause, she added jokingly, I can't just go and steal your boyfriend, can I? Huh. It's fine. Fair competition and all, Serena said, her lips curving into a forced smile. Her eyes grew quiet, and she looked like she didn't mean what she was saying. Sabrina quickly caught this detail. Just as I thought. This is the type who cares about her pride, even when she's unhappy. This also confirmed her earlier theory about Serena's dismissive comments on high-end restaurants. She was all talk, desperate to save face. Sabrina was now confident she had her pegged. This type of person would take every word to heart. On the surface, it might not seem like it had an effect, but in reality, it would fester quickly. She could add more fuel to the fire. She pretended to be even more curious. By the way, didn't I see you all at the Riverbend Pavilion? Senior Chan was giving you all water. Who are those other two girls to him? Are they his sisters? Yes. His older and younger sisters, Serena said with feigned hesitation, sighing inwardly. It was so exhausting to keep up an act like this. Just playing along was tiring. She felt like time was dragging on. Oh, no wonder. I was thinking, how could they be so intimate, sharing water like that? But Senior Chin doesn't really look like them, Sabrina said, her face a mask of sudden understanding. Then she frowned as if in thought. It's common for siblings not to look alike, Serena said, finishing the last piece of vegetable and wiping her mouth with a napkin. Her gaze was lowered, mainly because it was hard to act with her eyes. But to Sabrina, it clearly looked like she was taking it to heart. The corners of Sabrina's mouth twitched up slightly. If I went to top film school, I'd probably put all those starlets out of job. She continued in a meaningful tone, it's really a shame for you to be a headline today. It might be a dark horse in the tech world, but its future is uncertain. It's not as stable as the real economy. With your background, even if you don't go into politics, you could study abroad. When you come back, with your status, you'd have a much higher starting point. Much better than being a legal VP at Headline Today. Sigh, I'm not thinking that far ahead right now. I'll focus on my studies first, and we'll see about the future, Serena sighed, lowering her head to hide the fact that her patience was wearing thin. It was highly likely Sabrina knew she was David Chin's daughter, but there was no way she could find out about the Chin family connection. First, she wouldn't think to connect them, and second, there were no channels for her to do so. That was a serious matter. No one, no matter how well connected, would provide that information unless they already knew the Chin family. Sabrina, thinking she was being subtle, observed her and said, actually, a lot of people are studying abroad now. The learning atmosphere is better there. If I weren't studying music, I'd go too. Seeing Serena's head bowed in silence, she continued, although I also like Senior Chun, I still feel it's not fair to you. With your status, being Senior Chin's subordinate is just too demeaning. Sigh. And Senior Chun, he's being a bit inconsiderate. She sighed heavily, as if she were deeply concerned for Serena. Before Serena could speak, she went on like a relationship guru. Couples need their distance too. You're so close every day, you'll lose that spark very quickly. Why don't you be the legal counsel of my family's real estate company here in Rockford? A little distance would actually be good for your relationship. No thanks. I'll stay at Headline Today. It's close to campus, Serena said, shaking her head. What are you afraid of? You can just drive to work. You're not afraid I'll steal your boyfriend, are you? Don't worry. I would never eat someone else's leftovers. As she said this last sentence, a flicker of triumph flashed in Sabrina's eyes. Go ahead and take it to heart. Let all build up until one day it explodes. A woman's heart is a small thing and easily provoked. Will you go abroad then? Sabrina's goal was to disrupt the relationship between these three girls and Cole. Whether they were still in the pursuit phase or already together, once a conflict erupted, it would be impossible to resolve, especially for the one in front of her. With her pride, she would never be able to back down. She would storm off in a huff. Once two or all three of them chose to leave, Sabrina's opportunity would arrive. She would approach Cole while he was emotionally vulnerable, saving him with her gentle, innocent, beautiful image. Conquer him, and then discard him without a second thought. Make Cole regret his past oversight forever. Or maybe she wouldn't have to discard him if Cole could be of use to her. Headline Today's growth was undeniable. It could still be useful. From Luna's and Serena's reactions, her plan was already on the path to success. Having lived her entire life surrounded by praise and affirmation, coupled with her privileged background, Sabrina's self-confidence had reached its peak. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Serena raised her hand, signaling a stop to the conversation. All right. I just feel like we hit it off, and I don't want you to waste your time. Girls like us deserve to enjoy the best life and be with the best person. If I had a boyfriend in the future, I would never allow other girls to be around him. On the surface, Sabrina remained innocent and carefree, acting on a whim. In reality, she was just adding more fuel to the fire. I'm not feeling well. I'm going to go, Serena said, her face stiff, and stood up to leave. Serena, do you want to go to the clinic? Be careful of heat stroke. Sabrina called out with false concern at Serena's retreating back. Because of the crowd in the cafeteria, she kept her triumph hidden deep inside, not letting a hint of it show. Outside the cafeteria, walking back to her dorm, Serena's expression was calm. She took out her phone and sent a message to their group chat about what had just happened. The thought that Cole belonged only to her was something she had entertained countless times. She didn't need someone else to point it out. Who hadn't thought about it? She was sure Jasmine and Luna felt the same way. It would be abnormal not to. But Cole would never abandon his childhood friend, Jasmine. Nor would he abandon the poor but strong and hardworking Luna. And for the other two, they probably guessed that Cole would never abandon his longtime classmate, her, unless one of them took the initiative to leave. That was very unlikely. Serena thought about princess-confident Sabrina's clumsy tactics, and they seemed so childishly laughable, like a child's petty schemes when fighting over a toy, completely transparent to any adult. She wondered what Sabrina would feel when she finally learned the truth. Serena almost felt a pang of pity for her. Her phone buzzed. It was a reply from Jasmine. This one's a real piece of work. Now I understand why her family supports her studying music. Luna, I am not making friends with someone like that. Serena, she barely even touched the food she ordered today. Such a waste. No wonder Luna said she didn't drink the lemon green tea. We're just not the same kind of people. The kind of things they said when fending off outsiders wasn't suitable for Cole to see. It would seem like they were gossiping, but that's what women do when they get together. Serena then copied her verbatim conversation with Sabrina and sent it to her Cole. Cole replied, "Okay, got it. I'll leave this deluded character to you guys. I'm afraid I'd lose my temper and yell at her." Serena broke into a smile. Apart from his very particular greed in one area, Cole was practically flawless in this regard. He never messed around. For a man controlling tens of millions in cash, he was absolutely one of a kind. Even her cousin, Spencer, was a notorious playboy from what she knew. In their other group chat, a new message from Cole appeared. Fall break is coming up. Where do you guys want to go? Let's organize a trip for the senior management. Mountains or the sea, you decide. Jasmine replied instantly. The sea, followed by Luna. The sea. Serena immediately replied. The sea. She had only ever seen the ocean on TV, and she guessed the other two were the same. Cole replied in the group chat. All right, the sea it is. All director level and above are invited. You can bring one family member, all expenses paid. The former senior supervisors were now directors, all of them longtime employees. An annual trip was a necessary perk. Headline's growth was inseparable from their dedication, and Cole wouldn't be stingy. Once you start making a lot of money, the more you spend, the more you make. A generous boss was always better at retaining talent than a penny-pinching capitalist. Perhaps some would eventually leave for other companies, but before that, he had to make the effort. As executive VP of HR, Jasmine posted the announcement about the trip to the sea in the senior management group chat. The chat exploded. Yvonne was the first to respond. Let's go to Hawaii. Fiona. Hawaii. Whitney. Hawaii. Wyatt. Anywhere with a sea is fine. I've never seen it. Jenna. Hawaii. Hawaii. Meng Jia, the Boston office director. The sea is fine with me. Gary Zung, the Atlanta office director. Hawaii is great. South Padre is not only crowded, but the beaches are covered in plastic bottles. The screen was flooded with Hawaii. As for which hotel they'd stay at, no one mentioned it. There were countless hotels in Hawaii. There were beachfront villas with pools, 5-star high-rise hotels, and others with mediocre locations and environments. The boss treating them to a trip was already amazing. They couldn't possibly be picky about the hotel. Cole smiled and made the decision. All right, Hawaii it is. We'll stay at the Banyan Grove Resort. We'll prioritize booking the villas. If we can't get them, we'll stay in the high-rise ocean view rooms. At this, the group chat fell silent for a moment. A minute later, it erupted in cheers. Everyone was already on Google looking up the hotel. The Banyan Grove was one of the best resorts in Hawaii, right on the beach. Even if they couldn't get a villa, staying in a high-rise ocean view room was a luxury experience. The CEO is the man. Long live the CEO. May the CEO stay forever young. The CEO is so handsome. May the CEO make a fortune. May the CEO marry 3 wives. That last one was from Yvonne. Cole's eyes narrowed. Humph. You got guts, Yvonne. You're a shoo-in for future CEO. In their various locations, the 3 girls looked at the chat, their expressions a mix of complicated emotions. Jasmine bit her lip. 3 wives. The reluctance was there. But strangely, deep down, she wasn't as repulsed as she should be. It was as if she had gotten used to the idea. She knew it was illogical, but at this point, many things were beyond her control. Forcing Cole to choose would likely lead to a bad outcome. She knew that if she insisted, he would most likely listen to her. But what would happen after that? How would he feel? Would there be resentment? It definitely would be. Could their relationship ever be the same? The key was, even if he chose, would other women still appear in the future? She didn't have to think hard to know it was inevitable. Could she stop them then? And then there were her health concerns to consider. Jasmine released her lip. She'd see how things played out. In any case, she could never leave him. Serena stared into space for a while, her mind racing. As smart as she was, she understood Cole's intentions. She understood even more that she couldn't force him to choose. In fact, she understood that no one could force Cole to choose. As for her choosing to leave, no. She shook her head, banishing the thought. Luna only felt a fleeting moment of conflict before pushing it aside. As long as her brother didn't get tired of her, she would always be his Luna, and wherever her brother was, that was her home. In the group chat, Cole added, "Those with boyfriends or girlfriends can bring them along. The company will cover the costs." He considered that it was a holiday break, and he couldn't let people be alone. Only 6 or 7 people responded. Wyatt, Marcus, and Leo from the R&D Center all had partners. With their high incomes, it was normal. The rest, it seemed, were single. Jasmine created a new group chat for the Hawaii trip and added all the senior managers, including Lin Fan, who was now also a director. At Cole's suggestion, she also added Amy and Preston, the 2 biggest influencers. They were also major contributors to Headline Today, having played a huge role in driving user engagement and actively promoting ad integration. Though not company executives, they deserved to be rewarded. It was also a signal to the other influencers. With a week to go before the end of September, the senior manager's motivation was at an all-time high. They all began arranging their work in advance. After counting, including Sasha and her new hire, Officer Riley, there were 34 people in total. Sasha's security department had just been established and only had 6 people. Finding male bodyguards was easy, but qualified female ones were hard to come by. Cole's requirement was that they had to be retired female Special Forces soldiers. Including Sasha herself, there were only 4 female bodyguards. They were still in contact with other retired female operators. Some had joined SWAT teams, some were working in corporations, some were running their own businesses, and some had just had children. It would take time to coordinate. Jasmine's HR department was in charge of booking the hotel. It was a good thing they called in advance, or they wouldn't have gotten any rooms. They only managed to book 2 villas. The rest had to be arranged in high-rise ocean view rooms. One villa had 6 rooms and could accommodate up to 10 to 12 people. The couples all volunteered to stay in the high-rise hotel, which was more convenient. With accommodations settled, they immediately booked the plane tickets. That evening, Cole received a call from Vanessa Fan. "Cole, please look after Lynn for me. She can't swim." "Don't worry, Aunt Vanessa. With me around, she'll be fine." He wasn't sure when it had happened, but Vanessa had started calling him Cole. He went along with it and started calling her Aunt Vanessa, which felt more intimate. "Yes, I trust you. I'm just afraid she'll wander off." Vanessa's voice was filled with concern. "She won't. I'll keep an eye on her." Lynn's disgruntled voice came through the phone. "What do you mean, wander off? I don't need him to watch me. His eyes will probably be glued elsewhere. How could he possibly pay attention to me?" Vanessa's voice became muffled, as if she were covering the receiver, but he could faintly hear her. "What are you talking about? What glued elsewhere? Don't you dare say that again. His eyes will definitely be glued. He's the guy who wants 3 wives. How many wives he has is none of your business. I tried to introduce you to, but you left. That's not what I meant." After a while, Vanessa's voice returned to the phone. "Cole, I'm entrusting Lynn to you. I wanted to go and watch her myself, but I can't get away from the company right now. Next time, you should come with us, Aunt Vanessa." The invitation was for 1 family member. After all, we'll see about that. On September 23rd, Eastwood University held its freshman welcome showcase. Sabrina Ning, as the freshman representative, went on stage to sing, earning thunderous applause. She bowed humbly, but her mind was not on the showcase. This small stage meant nothing to her. Her gaze swept over the banner hanging high above, exclusively sponsored by Headline Today. Why didn't Senior Chun come to give a speech? She wondered. "I'll go to Headline Today, tomorrow, and see." The next afternoon, after her classes, Sabrina went to Headline Today, ostensibly to learn and experience the atmosphere. In reality, she wanted to observe the state of Luna and Serena. The entire floor was occupied by Headline Today and Slice Video, and the doors were open. The employees were used to her presence by now. Sabrina didn't see Serena, only Luna. Her face was tense, and she looked to be in low spirits. Sabrina chuckled to herself. She wandered over to the finance center and said with feigned concern, "Luna, what's wrong? You don't look so good." "I'm fine. Probably just didn't sleep well," Luna said, her face expressionless. She was afraid of overacting, so she kept it simple. "Is it the work pressure? Senior Chin should really let you rest," Sabrina said, pretending to reach out and touch Luna's forehead. But she missed. Luna moved away. Sabrina wasn't angry. In fact, she thought this was even better. It meant Luna was in a bad mood. Just then, Cole poked his head out of his office and called, "VP in, could you come in for a moment?" "Oh, coming," Luna replied in a low voice, then walked into the office with her head down. A sly look flashed in Sabrina's eyes. She decided to stay a little longer, to wait for Luna to come out and see what happened. She then put on her friendly face and started chatting with some of the employees she was more familiar with. However, She was puzzled by the fact that the VP named Yvonne Wong barely gave her the time of day. Why was that? But maybe Yvonne just had a bad temper. You could tell from her phone calls that she was a real go-getter. Sabrina decided not to bother her. A dozen minutes later, Luna came out of the office. Seeing that Sabrina was still there, she sighed inwardly. I just got brother settled down. How am I supposed to act now? In a hurry, she pretended to wipe the corner of her eye, as if she had been crying, and then walked into her own finance office. Sitting at her desk, she felt her clothes were still a bit disheveled and quickly straightened them out. A blush crept up her face. Brother seems like he's having a really hard time. It looks so uncomfortable. What should I do? If she weren't so shy, she would have asked if he wanted the other two to do that. They probably couldn't, right? At that moment, Sabrina was chatting with the receptionist. Seeing Luna come out wiping her eyes, she felt a thrill of excitement. They must have had a fight. Sabrina glanced at Jasmine's desk, but didn't see her. She didn't plan on seeking Jasmine out. She felt that one was probably more mature and wouldn't be so easy to deal with. After a few more minutes of idle chatter with the receptionist, she left, feeling immensely satisfied. September 30th. The senior managers who came to the company all had their luggage with them. The men were in shorts and t-shirts. The women were all beautifully dressed. At 8 in the evening, with the exception of the regional directors who were traveling on their own, the senior management of Headline Today flew together to Hawaii. Upon landing, they boarded a large bus arranged by the Banyan Grove Resort. The Banyan Grove had only opened in 2008 and was very new. It was popular with tourists, but not uncomfortably crowded. Most of the activity was concentrated around the high-rise hotel, which had all sorts of entertainment. At this time, few people could afford to spend lavishly here. The truly wealthy were all traveling abroad, sniffing the rarefied air of freedom in foreign lands, then posting on Twitter, drinking soy milk in Boston this morning, sipping coffee in Paris tonight. The couples and other staff members went to the hotel on their own, eager to get started. The rooms had balconies facing the sea, a thought that excited them all. The villas, however, did not have direct ocean views. Preston went to the high-rise hotel, saying he wasn't used to sharing a bed with others. Cole knew the real reason. He wanted to go around filming, and there were more people and facilities on that side. The rest of them arrived at the villa area, where a butler came to assist them. The Banyan Grove provided butlers, which you could use or not. The butlers were all women, dressed in standard-issue trousers and short-sleeve shirts, no stockings or high heels. They were all attractive and on call for any request. Cole, of course, declined the service, saying they could manage on their own. If they wanted to eat in the villa, they could just call the butler. It was very convenient. Yvonne was in charge of assigning rooms in the villa. The female VPs, without question, all chose to stay in the same villa as Cole. It was a given that the heads of legal, finance, and HR would be there, and it was better for the girls to chat together. Fiona, Whitney, Yvonne, Jenna, Meng Jia from the Boston office, the director of customer service, the newly promoted director of HR, and also Lynn, Fan, and Amy. Sasha and Riley would naturally stay here too. The two of them could share a room. The rest went to the other villa, 50 meters away. Before the rooms were assigned, everyone eagerly explored the 500-square-meter villa. The most attractive feature was the front yard pool. The yard was large. A wall blocked the view from the outside, and fences and trees on the sides provided excellent privacy. Under the lights, the pool water was crystal clear, with fresh water constantly flowing in. 100 meters beyond the wall was the beach, and you could hear the sound of the waves. None of the women had ever seen the sea before. The sound alone was intoxicating. If it weren't already late and they were worried about waking up early to see the sunrise, they would have gone for a walk right then. The best room, of course, was reserved for Cole. But when it came to assigning rooms for the three goddess-like VPs, Yvonne was at a loss. From her forced expressions, she knew exactly where they wanted to be. She couldn't just waste a room like last time. So, she decided not to bother. They could sleep wherever they wanted. Thinking this, Yvonne led them up to the second floor and into the room assigned to Cole. The rooms are limited, so you'll have to make do here. It's fine. This is great, Jasmine said with a prim nod. We can squeeze, Sabrina said with a smile. This room is so big, it's just right for us, Luna said, looking around. The three of them tacitly avoided mentioning where Cole would sleep. But he couldn't sleep alone. Absolutely not. What if another one of them slipped in and cuddled with him in the middle of the night? What if someone else did? They all looked at Yvonne. With no outsiders around, they had to guard against insiders. They were all wearing long dresses, but she was the only one in a short skirt, her legs mostly exposed, pale and enticing. Who was she trying to impress? Yvonne felt a knot of anxiety under their combined gaze and glanced down her skirt. She smiled guiltily. What's wrong? Nothing, the three said in unison. All right then, I'm going to put my things away. I'll see you at the pool later. Yvonne fled without looking back. Downstairs, she saw Cole and shot him a look, gesturing upstairs. Your room is the master suite on the second floor. Your suitcase has already been brought up. Good luck. Cole raised an eyebrow. He knew what VP Wong meant without her saying it. He was sleeping on the sofa again. Sigh. Even on vacation, he had to sleep on the sofa. What a drag. He couldn't even dream of anything good happening. He steeled himself and went upstairs, knocking on a master bedroom door. Luna opened it. Hey, you guys are here too. Cole feigned surprise. What are you asking for? Why else would you be knocking? Jasmine shot him a sideways glance, then gestured with her chin toward the sofa. There. You sleep there. We'll take the bed. This, with so many employees around, isn't it? You know, a little inappropriate. Cole grimaced. Oh, so you do know what's appropriate? Then how do you explain your usual behavior? Jasmine avoided his gaze, pulling her swimsuit out of her suitcase. It was a deep gray two-piece that looked like a short skirt, with safety shorts underneath. It wouldn't reveal anything even when wet. It was quite conservative. She could never wear a bikini like the ones on TV. She'd feel too embarrassed, unless it was just her and Cole. Luna giggled, not daring to interject. Sabrina pretended not to hear, also rummaging through her suitcase for her swimsuit. It was the same style of two-piece, just in a creamy white. Luna's was even more modest. It was a floral-patterned, loose top and shorts, with a draped curtain of fabric in the front that blurred the lines of her figure, making it less conspicuous. Jasmine had helped her pick it out. Cole gave a sheepish smile and sat down on the sofa, surveying the room. Not bad. He'd have to buy a big villa like this in Hawaii someday. Come here occasionally to enjoy the good life. Hee hee. Yep, one big one would be enough. He heard Jasmine say, turn around. We're changing. Oh. Cole stood up and walked to the balcony. From here, he could see the ocean, which was incredibly relaxing. He could hear the rustling of dresses being taken off behind him. The three of them were clearly not using the bathroom, but changing right there in the room. The sound made Cole's heart itch, like a cat scratching at a post. He desperately wanted to turn around and look. He had never seen the three of them change clothes together. After a moment, Jasmine's voice came from behind. Okay, we're done. Cole turned around and, as expected, was treated to a feast for the eyes. 3 pairs of long, pearlescent legs. It reminded him of that night, when they were all in their pajamas. Jasmine's legs were simply invincible. Sabrina was the fairest, her skin pink and tender, her toes slender and delicate. And Luna's swimsuit, no matter how conservative, was still stretched taut, revealing a deep cleavage. Following Cole's gaze, Jasmine and Sabrina looked over at Luna, both feeling a little sour. Their own figures weren't small, but there was still a gap. It was a matter of natural talent. There was nothing to be done. Luna's face flushed red under their gaze, but she felt a small thrill of pleasure. She didn't want to captivate her brother with her looks, but if he liked it, what could she do? Cole was practically drooling. If all 3 of them weren't here, he would have already pounced. He had seen all sorts of sexy swimsuits in his past life, but there was no comparison. These conservative styles, worn by his 3 babies, were 100 times more visually stimulating than any skimpy bikini. Cole, we're going down now. You should change and come join us, Sabrina said with a sweet smile. She had noticed Cole's eyes lingering on her too, looking her up and down. His gaze was lecherous. Her sour feelings immediately dissipated. Before she left, Jasmine shot her brother a playful glare. They were practically an old married couple, and he was still swallowing his saliva at the sight of her. Honestly, the 3 women went downstairs, feeling quite satisfied, and headed for the pool. Besides Yvonne, everyone else was already there, splashing around in the water. The pool wasn't very deep, perfect for these non-swimmers. Most of them were wearing conservative swimsuits. Who would dare to wear a bikini? Well, except for Amy, who wore a slightly more revealing one-piece that showed off her entire thighs. But there were actual bikinis. When Yvonne and Lynn walked out, Jasmine and the others were stunned. Real bikinis. Everything that could be revealed was revealed. Yvonne's figure was pretty good, decent by any measure. Compared to most girls, she was very well proportioned. This. The girls looked at their own swimsuits, then at Yvonne and Lynn, speechless. Hey, why aren't you guys wearing them? Isn't it uncomfortable to swim in something so long? Yvonne's face was a little red, but she feigned composure. She had really thought everyone would wear one. They were in a private villa, after all, with no outsiders to see. Just Cole. If he wanted to look, let him look. Lynn, with a cool expression, strode into the pool. Her figure was Okay, a little better than a B cup. Yvonne, you, Mr. Chun is coming down later, the straightforward Whitney reminded her. So what? What else are you supposed to wear in a pool? There's so many on the beach. I thought you guys would wear them in the villa too. Yvonne forced herself to stay calm and walked into the pool as if nothing was wrong. 3 pairs of eyes were fixed on her, making her very nervous. But really, she hadn't done it on purpose. Well, maybe just a little bit on purpose, just a tiny bit. It looks good on you, Jasmine said with a faint compliment. Forget it. She couldn't be bothered to say anything. It was acceptable to wear that in a pool. That bastard better not stare. If he dared, he'd have another thing coming. This world was just too dangerous for Cole. Soon, the fun of playing in the pool dispelled the 3 girls' complicated feelings. This was the first time in their lives they had ever been in a swimming pool. The same was true for the others, except for Lynn. Everyone was having a great time. After nearly 10 minutes, Cole still hadn't come down to play. A few of them were a little disappointed. Serena couldn't help but call up to the second floor. Cole. Her sweet, coquettish call drew everyone's attention. Jasmine and Luna were a little better off, having slowly gotten used to it. The others were all stunned. Was this the usually serious legal VP? Fiona, Whitney, and Lynn had all seen Serena explain contract terms. She was meticulous, rigorous, and displayed the perfect attitude for a legal professional. But now, Lynn blinked rapidly, feeling like her eyes had been opened. This VP shun could be so flirtatious? No wonder. There was a reason the guy wanted 3 wives. Yvonne's eyes widened. This was the first time she had heard it too. Oh my God. No wonder Cole is so happy all the time and couldn't care less about that Sabrina Ning. Could it be that these 3 are completely different when no one else is around? Wow, the thought is so exciting. I so want to join. The other directors and Amy didn't know Serena well, so despite their surprise, they didn't show it. Serena, now the center of attention, realized what she had done and shrank back, hiding half her flushed face in the water. On the second floor, Cole had changed into a pair of shorts. In the mirror, he could see the faint outline of an 8-pack. It wasn't obvious, but with a little flexing it was there. From the balcony, he could see the pool below, so many girls, and Yvonne and Lynn in bikinis. He suddenly felt shy. He tried to go down several times, but couldn't bring himself to do it. His face was burning. He didn't even know what was wrong with him. Had his skin gotten thinner? Or was the guy who used to shake his but on stage? Serena's sweet call came from below, and he quickly responded, coming. Then he stood in front of the mirror, taking deep breaths. Go on down, kid. You can do it. He mustered up his courage, went downstairs, and strode confidently towards the pool. All the women looked at him. Cole's face turned red. Being watched by so many girls was really embarrassing. He cleared his throat. Don't mind me. You guys have fun. I'm just going to soak for a bit. Cole kept his head down and slipped into the pool, not daring to look at Yvonne and Lynn. The water was too shallow. It didn't hide anything. He could see VP Wong's round, but cheeks clearly. Lynn, forget it. She was just a kid. Nothing to see there. The resort grounds were quiet, with only the sound of the ocean waves as a gentle accompaniment. Faintly, you could hear laughter drifting from a distant villa. The soft lighting was just right, creating a sense of tranquility without being lonely. It was the perfect place for vacation romance, and anyone who knew. While the grounds were serene, the private courtyard of their villa was anything but. Laughter and chatter filled the air, a lively counterpoint to the night. The pool, about 4 feet deep and a few hundred square feet, felt a little crowded with 14 people. So most of the women were hanging out along the edges, chatting and soaking, leaving the center open for anyone who wanted to actually swim. Like Lynn Fan, who was currently showing off her strokes. Sasha and Riley hadn't planned on getting in, but after a chorus of invitations from the girls and a nod of encouragement from Cole, they changed into their swimsuits and joined them. They were still getting to know everyone, so they kept to themselves, looking a little awkward. Sasha was powerfully built, with a palm-sized scar on her back. Riley was paler, with a long scar on her outer thigh. The march drew the other girls' attention, and soon they were all asking how they'd gotten them. It was the perfect icebreaker. Sasha and Riley opened up, sharing stories about their training, leaving out any unit designations, of course. The girls listened, mesmerized, gasping in admiration. Cole had staked out a corner for himself, surrounded by a legion of women. Moving around felt like a tactical error. Besides, just soaking was comfortable enough. He'd noticed that aside from Sasha and Riley, he and Jasmine were the only ones who were truly comfortable in the water. The rest were landlubbers. Lynn knew a few fancy strokes, but that was useless in the open ocean. Being a swimmer and having a feel for the water were 2 different things. Cole ducked under the surface, intending to practice holding his breath, He opened his eyes and was immediately confronted by a forest of pale, shimmering legs and the soft curves of, yeah, no. He shot back up to the surface, but it was too late. His body had already responded with a will of its own, a defiant salute to the scenery. Well, that settled it. He was officially confined to this corner, lest his predicament be discovered. He kept his expression neutral, casually looking around as if admiring the courtyard landscaping. Being in a pool with so many women wasn't as relaxing as one might think. If it were just his 3 girls, it would have been different. More comfortable, at least. He'd seen them and been seen by them. Watching Lynn's joyful swimming, Yvonne couldn't resist trying it herself. The only problem was she could only do the backstroke. Arms and legs flailing, she started paddling toward the other end of the pool, right toward the corner where Cole was standing guard. Her position, floating on her back, accentuated everything. 3 pairs of eyes immediately shot toward Cole, checking to see if he was sneaking a peek. He wasn't. He was looking openly and directly. He just thought Yvonne's backstroke looked less like swimming and more like a desperate struggle for survival. Water was splashing right in her nose. Wasn't that uncomfortable? From across the pool, he heard Jasmine cough. Ahem. Cole's heart skipped a beat, and he quickly averted his gaze. Honest to God, he thought, I wasn't staring at her chest. I was genuinely concerned about our VP's comical swimming form. Yvonne, still pretending she knew what she was doing, suddenly started splashing more violently. The commotion drew Cole's attention again. It was obvious she'd pushed her luck and choked on a lungful of water. He quickly moved forward, grabbing her just as she was about to crash into the wall and helping her upright. Yvonne clung to his arm like a lifeline, coughing so hard water streamed from her nose. Seeing that Cole had it handled, Sasha, who had started to move, stopped. All the girls were now watching. Are you okay, Yvonne? Fiona called out. Yvonne waved a hand, still coughing too hard to speak. Seeing it was a genuine accident, his 3 girls had the decency not to let their imaginations run wild. Still, you're wearing a bikini, Yvonne. Could you please not hold on so tight? You've got it. Stand up straight, Cole said with a laugh. Maybe skip showing off the swim skills for now. Just enjoy the water. Underwater, out of sight, he patted her leg. Let go. Now. Thankfully, the rippling surface distorted the view. If they were underwater, or looking down from the deck, they'd see Yvonne's legs tangled around his inner panic. Cole was genuinely starting to panic himself. Not only was he under the intense scrutiny of his 3 girlfriends, but Yvonne was barely wearing anything, and if she rubbed up against him. In fact, her knee had already made contact. He felt her legs release him, and he beat a hasty retreat to his corner. Sigh, this pool isn't fun at all. Thanks, Cole, Yvonne said, having caught her breath. She walked back to the edge, thoroughly humbled. No more swimming for her. Too embarrassing. She hadn't been thinking. It was just an instinctive reaction. It wasn't until she calmed down that she registered what, exactly, she might have bumped into. You okay? Jasmine swam over, rubbing her back. I'm fine. Just got water up my nose, Yvonne said with a pained look, though she felt a rush of gratitude. That's the first lady for you, she thought. So composed, so caring. After comforting Yvonne, Jasmine began her own backstroke, starting from the same spot. Water occasionally washed over her face. As she got close to Cole's side of the pool, she, too, began to struggle. Naturally, Cole noticed. He hurried over to steady her. He felt a sudden tightening around his hips as Jasmine's legs wrapped around him. He understood instantly, groaning internally. Jasmine, my dear, I taught you how to swim. What are you doing? Are you reenacting Yvonne's performance? I'm going to have to start calling you Sherlock Young. Jasmine thrashed theatrically for a moment, her mind already crystal clear. That bastard. I knew it. Underwater, she gave aside a sharp, secret pinch, then slapped the misbehaving part of him. But she couldn't really blame him. Surrounded by all this temptation, how could a young, virile man not react? Next time the girls are in the pool, she decided he's not allowed in. Everyone else thought Jasmine had choked, too, and rushed over to express their concern. You have to keep your face out of the water when you do the backstroke, or you'll get water in your nose. Lynn, the self-proclaimed expert, began instructing. The girls stopped chatting and gathered for an impromptu lesson. Cole, you know how to swim, right? Sabrina paddled over to him, her hands splashing gently. She'd been wanting to come over for a while. A little. How'd you know? Cole said, his hand already beginning its underwater exploration. I just know. Phoebe and I saw you swimming the riverback in Linden Creek once. Serena did her best to ignore the strange sensation on her leg. She glanced around nervously. Seeing that no one was paying attention, she relaxed. Her face remained a mask of calm, but her heart was fluttering. That devil. You saw that? So you were spying on me way back then. Cole chuckled softly. Who was spying on you? You were the one spying. Sabrina retorted, then lowered her voice. You used to stare at me in class. You think I didn't know? What? You knew? I thought I was being subtle, Cole said, delighted as he teased his campus beauty. The water made her skin feel incredibly smooth. Oomph. I knew all along, she huffed. Seeing her looking so delicate and delectable, Cole was sorely tempted. But then Luna came over, and he had to retract his hand. Sabrina, flustered, stopped talking. One on his left, one on his right, their different shampoos creating a fragrant cloud around him. If there weren't so many people, he'd have an arm around each of them. Across the pool, Jasmine was only half listening to the conversation, her eyes constantly darting toward Cole. She was anxious, wanted to go over there too, but a few of the girls had cornered her, and she couldn't get away. Brother, can you teach me how to swim? Luna asked boldly. She didn't know how at all, but letting Cole teach her meant physical contact in front of everyone. It was embarrassing, but she desperately wanted to try. Of course. Come on, it's easy. First, you learn to paddle, Cole said, moving forward to make some space. He held out his arms. Lie on my arms, and I'll support you. Okay. Luna shyly rested her chest and stomach on his arms, and he lifted her, so she floated on the surface. The feeling of freedom, like flying, filled her with a joyful giddiness. Cole, I want to learn too. Sabrina stomped her foot in the water, her eyes full of longing. All right. Everyone learns. Cole was more than happy to oblige. He turned back to Luna. Kick with your lower legs and just paddle with your hands. That's right, just like that. To truly learn to swim, one had to master the doggy paddle. It worked in any body of water, conserved energy, and allowed you to feel for hidden rocks. It was the necessary first step to learning how to tread water. Aside from looking undignified, it had no flaws. He coached Luna for a while, then switched to Sabrina. The three of them were laughing and splashing. The other women were all, consciously or not, keeping an eye on their boss. Amy glanced over, a pang of envy in her heart. With such beautiful girls by his side, Cole probably wouldn't even look at her, let alone touch her. Lynn surfaced, a pout on her face. She had been practicing holding her breath, but she'd lost the desire. Someone's hands had been busy, left and right, engaging in shameless underwater mischief. Despicable. Jasmine, meanwhile, was going sour with jealousy as she continued to make small talk. This kind of networking was crucial for internal harmony and future personnel decisions, so she couldn't leave. After an hour, everyone was ready to get out, shower, and go to bed. The three girls got out of the pool first. They knew Cole wouldn't be getting out for a while, at least not while the other women were still around. Cole, are you going to stay in by yourself? Whitney asked, noticing he showed no signs of getting out. You guys go on ahead. I need to think about something, Cole said with a smile. Whitney, maybe he needs his space. Let's go inside, Yvonne said, pulling Whitney's arm. She glanced at Cole, who had sunk into the water up to his nose, and covered her mouth to hide a smile. She knew exactly what was going on. For a certain reason, the poor guy was too embarrassed to get out of the pool. We're heading in, Cole, Yvonne called out, then walked toward the villa, her hips swaying with every step. The movement was usually subtle, but in a bikini, it was absolutely breathtaking. Cole watched her go, then submerged himself completely. The quiet stillness of the water finally calmed him down, but the fire inside him refused to be extinguished. Not by mere water, at least. He went upstairs and knocked on the door. Luna opened it again. Sabrina was on the balcony, on the phone. Jasmine was in the shower. On the balcony, Sabrina smiled at Cole. Yeah, I know, Dad, don't worry. It's totally safe. There are a ton of people here. Okay, call me if you need anything, David Shin said from the other end. I know, Dad. After a few more words, she hung up. She felt a twinge of regret. Her mother had called first, immediately demanding to know why she wasn't coming home for the holiday. They were on completely different wavelengths. Where her dad took the phone, her mood had lifted. Her feelings for her mother were complicated. She hated her attempts to control her, but she'd feel guilty if she hurt her. The best approach was to let her cool down and let time wear away at her mother's obsession. The bathroom door opened and Jasmine walked out, her hair dripping wet. She was wearing a rather sexy, ice silk slip dress with a low-cut neckline that left little to the imagination. Her long, straight legs moved with a light grace. I'm done. Who's next? Sabrina, you go, Luna said, habitually deferring. Why don't we go together? It's getting late. The sooner we're done, the sooner Cole can shower, Sabrina said, grabbing her pajamas from her suitcase. Okay, sure, Luna agreed immediately. She used to shower with Brianna and Felicity back in the dorms their freshman year. Now that they had their own bathrooms, they showered separately. The two girls, pajamas in hand, gave Cole a sweet smile, and disappeared into the bathroom. To Cole's great disappointment, the bathroom had solid walls, not glass. Before Jasmine could say a word, he grabbed the hairdryer. As expected, she called out, "Cole, come dry my hair." Coming. Seeing her brother as attentive as ever, Jasmine sat down contentedly on the sofa. The hairdryer whirred to life, its buzzing matching the frantic state of Cole's mind. He ran his fingers through Jasmine's black hair, moving the dryer back and forth, his eyes uncontrollably darting around. Her intoxicating femininity was a spark on his kindling, and in an instant, it became a raging wildfire. Under the cover of the dryer's noise, Cole, the shameless chun, leaned down and whispered in her ear, "Jasmine, I want to watch you do yoga." "You pervert. You got some nerve." Jasmine swatted him, blushing furiously. She glanced nervously at the bathroom door. "Please, Jasmine, just for me. I really want to see it," Cole whined shamelessly. "No. Are you crazy? Go dry my hair." Jasmine bit her lower lip and hit him again. "We have time." "Jasmine, I need to learn yoga," Cole said, swallowing hard. If he didn't learn, something bad was going to happen. "No, absolutely not. What if they come out?" Jasmine shook her head, her eyes pleading. The heat in his gaze scared her a little. She was afraid of being seen, but she was also afraid of that fire being put out by someone else. There were several other beautiful women in this villa, after all. "Jasmine, no. Jasmine, no." Jasmine glanced at the bathroom door again. "Jasmine, fine. You're so annoying." The whir of the hairdryer became the background music for Jasmine's impromptu splits practice. Perhaps because it had been a while, her brow furrowed slightly, and she bit her lower lip, not making a sound. All the while, her eyes were glued to the bathroom door. She kept turning the hairdryer off to listen for the shower, then turning it back on. It was a very busy performance. When Sabrina and Luna finished their shower, they heard the hairdryer still going. They came out to see Cole still drying Jasmine's hair. "What's taking so long?" The two girls sat on the sofa, waiting for their turn. If he dried Jasmine's hair, he had to dry theirs too. "Jasmine, are you hot? Your face is so red," Sabrina said, looking at her. Her face was as red as a cloth. Sabrina checked the room temperature. The AC was blasting. It was cool. "Not hot at all. It's the hairdryer," Jasmine said, forcing herself to remain calm, though her heart was racing. The yoga had made her incredibly hot. The worst part was she'd only gotten halfway through her routine before the other two finished their shower. It was torture. Luna glanced from Jasmine to Cole, and her eyes swept downwards. What she saw made her blush instantly. How could he be like that? But then again, there were so many girls in the pool today, and Yvonne and Lynn were wearing bikinis. Maybe it was better not to let him in the water anymore. It was too dangerous. Once Jasmine's hair was mostly dry, she leaped up. "I need another cold shower. I'm burning up." She practically fled, not even bothering with slippers as she dashed back into the bathroom. Sabrina and Luna watched her hurried retreat. How strange. Why did she need another shower? "All right, who's next?" Cole held up the hairdryer, making no effort to hide his own awkward situation. It was becoming second nature. "Sabrina can go first," Luna said. She felt Sabrina was more delicate and might get a headache if her hair stayed wet for too long. "Okay." Sabrina didn't object. It was late, and she wanted to get to bed. This wasn't the first time the four of them had shared a room outside of Rockford. With Cole on the sofa, the three girls in the bed felt a profound sense of security. In a room on the first floor, Sasha and Riley were sharing a bed. Sasha, are the three VPs in the same room as Mr. Chun? Riley couldn't sleep and finally broke the silence. The idea seemed incredible to her. "Riley, that has nothing to do with us," Sasha said without opening her eyes. She added, "They pay us well, and they're good people. That's enough. I just think it's a little strange. The VPs are so capable. I don't understand how they could all agree to it. Knowing more helps with our protection detail." Riley found a professional justification. That's true. All right, I'll tell you. Jasmine is his childhood friend. Serena was his classmate in middle and high school, and now in college. He met Luna later. She was with him when he opened his first tea shop. Sasha gave her the simple version of what she knew. As their bodyguard and head of security, it was her job to know. No wonder. Riley seemed to understand. It all made sense now. She was open-minded about the whole three-girlfriends thing. She'd seen plenty of hypocrites with secret lives. It wasn't her business, especially when it came to the man signing her generous paychecks. After a moment, she asked, "What about VP Wong?" The boss specifically instructed that she needs 2 of us with her whenever she goes out, and one of us has to be you or me. He seems to value her a lot. Sasha's tone was matter-of-fact. Of course he values her. She's beautiful, has worked incredibly hard, and is a genius at business. You're new, so you don't know, but Yvonne is completely different outside the office than she is in front of Cole. Don't be fooled by the Yvonne you saw today. She's fierce. You'll see when you go out with her. As long as we protect those four, our job is done. Got it. Riley understood completely. The next morning, the resort butler delivered a lavish breakfast on 3 serving carts, loaded with every dish imaginable. The other women seemed to have gotten used to the idea of the 3 VPs sharing a room with Cole. Those who hadn't were quietly instructed by their roommates to just go with it. Pretend you don't know. After breakfast and a thorough application of sunscreen, the headline today, crew headed for the marina, where a yacht was waiting for them. Cole. Preston ran over, full of excitement. The high-rise building is awesome. So many hot girls. I got 2 numbers just from taking some pictures outside. Be careful. This place is full of flyers, Cole whispered, glancing around to make sure his 3 girls couldn't hear. Flyers? What's that? Preston's eyes were wide with confusion. Flying taxis. You pay the fare, Cole winked. Whoa, you mean? Yep. No way. They look decent. The power of makeup. But they can't be too bad, or they wouldn't get any business. Dude, how do you know so much? You're just clueless, living in your own little world. Cole regretted bringing it up and quickly shut his mouth. Guess who I saw? Preston wasn't letting him off the hook. Who? Cora Chun, and 2 other girls I don't know, but have seen before. Probably here on vacation too. They were all acting so high and mighty, completely ignored me. Oh, the name drained all interest from Cole's face. At the marina, the yacht company staff were waiting. They pointed to a massive 3-deck, nearly 100-foot yacht docked nearby. The Peninsula One, perfectly sized for their group of 30+. The interior had everything. Bedrooms with bathtubs, a lounge area, a dining room, a kitchen, a karaoke machine. The deck had direct access to the sea for swimming. This kind of ultra-luxury yacht was perfect for a corporate retreat. In 2011, it was about $1,500 an hour, 3-hour minimum. Cole had booked it for 12 hours, long enough to watch the sunset and the evening sky before heading back. The rental came with a crew of 5, but Cole had declined most of them, requesting only 2 drivers, a captain and a deckhand. He didn't really need them. Sasha and Riley both said handling the boat was easier than driving a car. But the company required at least one of their people on board. Seeing the number of women in the group, they'd assigned a married couple in their 40s who could also help with cooking, provided they were tipped well. Money talks, and the yacht company delivered. The headline today, team boarded enthusiastically, exploring the decks and marveling at the luxury. As the yacht pulled away from the shore, Cole picked up a megaphone. All right, everyone, feel free to do whatever you want. There's food and drinks in the fridge. Eat it all. If you want fresh seafood, just tell the captain. If we run out, the company will deliver more. If you're leaning on the rails, be careful and hold on tight. If you get seasick, let someone know. There's medicine on board, and you can lie down in one of the cabins. Got it, Cole. Okay, boss. Once he declared free time, the group scattered, taking pictures at the bow and stern. Since it was daytime and there were a lot of guys around, the women had brought their swimsuits but weren't wearing them yet, opting for long dresses to avoid any wind-related mishaps. Cole was on photography duty for his 3 girls, plus Yvonne and Lynn, who refused to leave his side. Lynn took one look at Cole's pictures, rolled her eyes in disgust, and snatched the camera to take over as photographer. Cole was happy to be relieved of duty. He posed for photos with his 3 happy girls, boldly wrapping his arms around their waists. Finally, seeing Yvonne's expectant look, he took a picture with her too. You had to give face to the future CEO, but he didn't dare put his arm around her. This was the first time the 3 girls had seen the ocean or been on a boat. They held onto the railing, letting the sea breeze whip through their hair, their faces full of blissful wonder as they gazed at the distant horizon. It's so beautiful. Cole, can we come to the beach often from now on? Jasmine turned to look at him, the wind blowing her hair across her face. Before she could move, Cole gently brushed it away. Of course, we'll come every year. He wanted to say they could come for New Year's too, but thinking of Serena's family, he knew she probably couldn't make it. He didn't want to spoil her mood, so he kept quiet. Jasmine's eyes softened with tenderness. If it were just the 2 of them here, she'd be tempted to practice yoga again. It would have made for an unforgettable memory. Cole stole a glance at Serena and Luna, then pointed out at the horizon, drawing their attention. We're going to go out about 20 nautical miles, stop there, and then visit some smaller islands. We'll do this once or twice a year to appreciate the beauty of the ocean and relax. As he spoke, his left hand snaked around Serena's slender waist, then reached a little further to touch Luna's. He put extra emphasis on the word we, letting them know he would never neglect them. The two girls understood immediately, their faces breaking into relieved smiles. Jasmine, as sharp as ever, naturally saw through his little maneuver, but she wasn't upset. She knew her brother would do this. It was who he was. The yacht, cruising at a top speed of 30 knots, quickly reached the 20 nautical mile mark. The sea here was open and calm. Other yachts could be seen moving in the distance. Everyone was in high spirits. Those who could swim jumped in from the deck. Those who couldn't either tried fishing or sunbathed. Cole, now in swim trunks, vaulted over the railing and gave his three girls a grin before diving headfirst into the sea. Sabrina and Luna watched the surface anxiously. "Don't worry, he's a great swimmer," Jasmine reassured them. Cole burst from the water with a triumphant howl. A moment later, Jasmine appeared at the rail, wearing a conservative one-piece swimsuit, and jumped right in after him. Serena, Luna, Yvonne, and a half-dozen other girls stared, dumbfounded and suddenly frantic. Didn't she just choke on water last night? A moment later, Jasmine emerged from the water, held in Cole's arms, treading water effortlessly. She rested one hand on his shoulder and wiped the water from her face with the other. There was no sign of someone who had nearly drowned, only triumph. Treading water is something you have to feel, an epiphany. You have to find a kinship with the water to become one with it. There's no fixed motion. You can move your hands and feet however you want and still stay upright. A real pro can stay afloat just by waving half a palm. From below, the most efficient movements might look a little ugly. Your hands might be doggy paddling or flapping like a duck. That's what it means to have a feel for the water. Someone without that innate understanding could perform the exact same motions and sink. Cole and Jasmine had that feel. Their bodies rose and fell with the gentle swell of the ocean. Jasmine's left hand never left her brother's sturdy shoulder. It was her first time in the sea, and she was a little nervous. The thought of the bottomless depths below was enough to breed fear. If Cole hadn't jumped in first, she wouldn't have dared. What she found strange was how natural he seemed, as if this wasn't his first time in the ocean either. And yet, this was the first time he'd ever seen it. Her confusion was quickly washed away by joy. The freedom and thrill of playing in the sea was exhilarating, especially with her brother's hand on her waist. It was safe and exciting all at once. Cole treaded water almost effortlessly. Salt water was naturally more buoyant than fresh water. All he had to do was ride the waves. He held Jasmine's waist lightly, letting her know he was there for her. When they were kids, she had taken care of him. Now it was his turn. The harmonious scene of the two of them in the water made everyone on the yacht incredibly envious. Most of them couldn't swim. The few who did enter the water from the stern deck clung to floaties. Even for competent swimmers, the open ocean was intimidating. They knew this was a different world from a swimming pool. Wyatt, Marcus, and the others were complete non-swimmers, not daring to even dip a toe in. Yvonne, Fiona, and Jenna watched with sparkling eyes. Just then, Cole's eyes narrowed. He shouted, "Crap! Throw down a flow attack." At the railing, Lynn, the confident master swimmer, had decided to imitate Jasmine and took a leap of faith. Splash! A huge plume of water erupted. "Oh, for crying out loud," Cole muttered with a sigh. This kid was never going to learn unless she swallowed some seawater. Her swimming pool tricks were a joke out here. Grumbling aside, he had to help. He gave Jasmine's rear a light pat, signaling he was going over to get the flow tie for Lynn. The moment she hit the water, Lynn's confidence vanished. From the boat, the sea had looked calm, deceptively so, but underwater, her eyes opened to a deep, dark abyss. The sunlight penetrated the surface, revealing the seafloor, but it was so far down. Layers of terror immediately enveloped her. She looked around in a panic and saw a figure swimming toward her. She frantically tried to swim toward him. The moment she broke the surface, a small wave washed over her head, making her even more terrified. She forgot all about elegant strokes and just flailed wildly, water rushing in her mouth and nose. She was in such a rush, she couldn't even catch her breath. All right, what are you flailing for?" Cole grabbed her under the arms and held her up. Grabbing her there prevented her from clinging to his neck. A quick squeeze, and she'd let go. The familiar voice and the firm grip instantly dispelled her fear. She coughed a few times, snot and tears streaming down her face. Seawater was so salty and bitter. Luckily, Lynn was smart enough to only cling to his arm. Cole slipped the flow tie Yvonne had thrown down over her head and helped her put her arms through it. Only then did he relax. Feeling the rise and fall of the sea, Lynn didn't dare let go of the flow tie. She had no choice but to paddle around with it. Cole pushed her and the flow tie over to Jasmine, letting his sister hold on to it to save energy. Their fun for two, full of secret underwater touches, had just been interrupted by a third wheel. His enthusiasm waned considerably. "Cole!" Serena yelled from the yacht. "I want to play too." Luna stood beside her, a look of longing on her face. If she could get in the water, it would be a wonderful memory with Cole. "Go change, then grab a floatie and come to the stern deck," Cole called back. The waves weren't high here. A floatie would be perfectly safe. The two of them pushed the little troublemaker toward the stern deck. With the floatie in Cole's protection, Lynn was back to her cocky self, kicking her legs enthusiastically. Jasmine was a little reluctant. Their romantic moment had barely started, and now she was a chaperone. Soon, Serena and Luna were on the deck, floaties around their waists. Cole pulled them into the water, one by one. Cole, I'm scared." Serena clung to his arm, refusing to let go. She kept imagining some monster lurking beneath her feet. Luna, on the other hand, wasn't as nervous. She was enjoying the feeling of floating in the sea. With Cole by her side, she had nothing to fear. "Don't worry. It's okay, I'm here." Cole chuckled. He held onto Serena's floatie with one hand while his other, hidden beneath the waves, was having a grand old time. His inner strategist winked. "The water is dangerous. You must hold on tight." His better angel stroked his beard and smiled. "Indeed, it is only right." One moment, it was Luna's full moon. The next, it was Jasmine's slender waist. Shielded by the azure water, even from the yacht's deck, it was impossible to see clearly. Cole was ecstatic, but on the surface, he maintained a serious expression, as if constantly on alert for danger. The two of them pushed a floatie each as they swam off to the side, leaving Lynn to paddle on her own. Sasha and Riley stood watch on the deck, ready to jump in if needed. The three girls' laughter echoed across the water, a picture of perfect harmony. Cole, taking care of one and then the other, was filled with fighting spirit. With each touch, the girls' cheeks flushed slightly, but the sun and sea camouflaged it well. The sea made Yvonne, watching from the yacht, burn with envy. She wanted to go down too, but the vastness of the ocean terrified her. Still, she wanted to join them so badly. Her eyes were filled with a potent mix of longing and resentment. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore and called out, "Jasmine, I want to play too. Can you help me?" She knew she couldn't ask Cole. She had to ask the First Lady. The four of them were a closed circle. To get in, or even just to be on the edge of it, Cole's permission was secondary. The First Lady's approval was key. "Come on down, then. I'll meet you on the deck," Jasmine waved. The woman worked tirelessly for the company. It was only right to look after her. But she couldn't let Cole do it, not in his current state. On the boat, Yvonne happily went to change. This time, she didn't wear a bikini, opting for a one-piece similar to Jasmine's. The circle of four became a circle of five, and nearby, Lynn, the master swimmer, was still splashing about. The sight made everyone else on the yacht smoke with envy. On the third deck, Wyatt was rubbing sunscreen on his girlfriend's back. "Wyatt, how are they all so harmonious? Aren't they jealous of each other?" she whispered. "How should I know? They're just swimming together. Don't talk about this. If someone hears you, it'll make things awkward for me," Wyatt said, glancing at his girlfriend. If she weren't a good person, he'd have sent her packing when they got back. But he still had to warn her. "I won't say anything to anyone else. I was just asking you," she said, her heart clenching. She immediately understood. If she kept talking, he might dump her. The man beside her was no longer the unassuming upperclassman she once knew. They were with Cole before he made it big. They weren't in it for the money. This is their lifestyle, and it has nothing to do with anyone else, understand? Wyatt explained further. "Yes, I know, but you're not allowed to be like that," she said, a little worried. "I won't be." Wyatt sighed. That kind of bond, forged in the early, lean days, was something he'd never have. After half an hour in the water, Cole led the women back onto the boat. Soaking in salt water for too long wasn't good for you. Plus, the sun was getting stronger. Enjoying some fruit on the deck while admiring the view was the better choice. The girls who had been in the water went to the cabins in the lower deck to shower, change, and reapply sunscreen. Jasmine wanted to ask Cole to do it for her, but if she did, all the others would want him to as well. Even Yvonne might ask. That would be a raw deal. So, Jasmine took the lead and applied her own. The second deck had a lounge area shaded by an awning. Everyone sat around relaxing, eating to replenish their energy. Fiona was seasick and lying down in a cabin. A few of the guys want to play on jet skis. Since there was only the husband and wife crew, the husband had to take them out in turns. Two other guys tried scuba diving, which was included in the yacht fee. Cole gave the couple an extra $150 tip to make sure they took good care of everyone, especially with the diving. He wanted the husband to be extra vigilant. Cole himself didn't go diving. And he wouldn't let his 3 girls go either. Maybe if they went to an island with a female instructor, he could arrange it. He couldn't help it. He was possessive. The girls didn't want to go anyway. If Cole wasn't going, what was the point? The sea glittered under the sun, the view stretching to the horizon. A salty breeze blew gently. In the distance, yachts of all sizes were scattered about. On one of them, a small yacht only about 30 feet long, sat Cora, Chan, and Julia. Their new boyfriends were from moderately wealthy families. To show off, they had brought the 2 girls to Hawaii. And once in Hawaii, a yacht trip was a must, a taste of the high life. Cora and Julia, both in bikinis, sat on the railing while their boyfriends took pictures. They needed to take plenty for their Facebook albums. Cora was in a fantastic mood. The shadow Cole had cast over her life seemed to have finally lifted. Life was back on track. Her new boyfriend's family had some assets and claimed their business was only going to get bigger. Maybe one day he'd be as successful as Cole. He wasn't as handsome, but that was okay. She wasn't a shallow girl who only cared about looks. Julia's thoughts were similar. If this guy had potential, she might consider marrying him someday. Just as they were chatting excitedly, a powerful wake rocked their small boat. One of the boyfriends, who was taking a picture, nearly fell overboard. Annoyed, they looked toward the source of the disturbance. The 2 guys were about to start cursing, but the words died on their lips. A nearly 90-foot luxury yacht had just sped past, less than 50 feet away. On its 3rd deck stood a girl with dreadlocks and tan skin, a look of pure rebellion on her face. She flashed them the middle finger. On the 2nd deck, under an awning, 2 other girls were sipping tea while 2 guys stared at their phones. A 90-foot yacht wasn't a huge deal. It could have been chartered by a large group. But with only a handful of people on it, that was a different story. The 2 boyfriends were smart enough to keep their mouths shut. When they turned back to Cora and Julia, their expressions were nonchalant. The captain of that yacht company isn't very skilled. There are so many yacht companies now, the quality of service is bound to be inconsistent. Cora and Julia weren't stupid. Seeing their boyfriends back down left a bitter taste in their mouths, but they couldn't say anything to embarrass them. The power dynamic was obvious. Let's go to West Isle. It's great for diving there, Cora's new boyfriend suggested. Sounds good, the other 3 agreed. Meanwhile, on a 90-foot luxury yacht on the 2nd deck, Sabrina, what are you thinking about? You suddenly went quiet, said a girl in a brown bikini. She had a bombshell figure, long, wavy brown hair, and a high-bridged nose with a distinctly European look. Her fingernails and toenails were painted a vivid red. Just thinking about something interesting. I wonder how it turned out, said Sabrina Ning. She was wearing a yellow-bottomed swim dress with embroidered flowers. She was here at the invitation of her best friend for a few days' vacation. Viridian Global had a branch in Hawaii involved in real estate development called Viridian Hawaii Construction. Her best friend, Sophia Song, was the daughter of the person in charge here, who was also a VP at the parent company. The 2 guys next to them were her cousins. There was another girl on the top deck, also a good friend, the daughter of a construction materials and paint conglomerate chairman named Jeju. The 3 of them hung out all the time. What interesting thing. Tell me, Sophia's eyes lit up. Friends who play together usually share the same hobbies. In commercial families with male heirs, the girls rarely had to work hard. Their lives were about having fun. A few tried to make something of themselves, but they were the exception. Have you heard of Headline today? Sabrina asked, pushing up her sunglasses with her index finger. What's that? Sophia had never heard of it. She only used blogs and Facebook. Never mind. It's like this. There's this really interesting guy at our university. Sabrina gave her the gist of the story. He's that good? 3 of them? And they're all beautiful. Sophia sat up straight, her excitement causing her ample chest to jiggle. Without support, it sagged slightly under the pull of gravity. I'm not sure, but it seems so. And yes, they're pretty, Sabrina admitted reluctantly. She glanced at her friend's chest, half of which owed its glory to science. Of the 3 girls with Cole, one of them was all natural. Let me look him up, Sophia said, intrigued. Why are you looking him up? He's my target, Sabrina said, annoyed. Just curious. I'm not going to steal him from you, Sophia pouted. It's useless even if you look. The guy is incredibly arrogant. Just wait until he's begging at my feet. We'll see how arrogant he is then. The thought of Cole's attitude fueled Sabrina's competitive spirit. Who's arrogant? Who's about to have some bad luck? The tomboy from the 3rd deck came down, also in a bikini. Her skin was tanned to a healthy bronze, revealing the outline of abs. She had tattoos on her collarbone and outer thigh, a script of some unknown language. Sabrina told the story again. And you can't win him over with your skills? Jeju plopped down, propping her feet up on the table. It's not that I can't. I'm just playing with him first, Sabrina said, refusing to admit defeat. That would be too embarrassing. Why don't you invite him to Hawaii? We can help you, Jade said confidently. Help, Sabrina started to say, but was cut off by Sophia's gasp. Wow, I thought he'd be some bald guy, but he's actually this handsome? A dark horse of the internet. Someone's already valued his company at over $1 billion. It's a unicorn. $1 billion. Oh my God. She sat bolt upright, her eyes shining with a golden light as she looked at Sabrina. Sabrina, let me have him. Introduce me. How can I let you have him? I'm already friends with his people, Sabrina said, a flicker in her eyes. The weight of coal in her mind grew heavier. $1 billion valuation? Is it really that high? She wondered, asking the question out loud. The valuation can't be that big, can it? Revenue is probably around 70 or 80 million. You don't follow finance. Sophia kept her eyes glued to the information on her phone, clicking her tongue in admiration. He's attended the National Tech Summit, and official media outlets have partnered with him. He secured the Paysetter advertising deal, and multiple brands are interested. The app has over 30 million downloads, and he has sliced video working in tandem. People are projecting his value within 2 years, maybe even 1. Sophia's family was rich, but her family's money and her money were two different things. Just like a company's money doesn't all belong to the chairman. If she could land this cold shun, oh my God, it was unimaginable. The original wife of a new generation billionaire. Cole's money would be her money. Sophia's heart pounded, her blood rushed, and her skin flushed red with excitement. No way. He's mine. And he's not actually that handsome. The photos are touched up, Sabrina said, instinctively resisting. The more excited her friend got, the more unsettled she felt. Yet it was accompanied by a strange thrill, like someone trying to steal her toy. She secretly vowed to conquer Cole and make him submit to her. Jade was unimpressed. Sophia always got worked up over handsome guys. She didn't pay much attention to the assets. It was just a valuation. It could be gone in an instant. Seeing her friend refuse, Sophia looked disappointed, but a new plan was already forming in her mind. She had to meet him no matter what. He was a golden goose, and she, the phoenix, had finally found a place to roost. A waiter from the lower deck brought up a platter of salmon sashimi. The three of them ate and chatted about other things as the yacht headed toward West Isle. West Isle was also known as Turtle Island. It had a massive dive club with the surrounding water ranging from 30 to 60 feet deep. The sunlight made the seabed clearly visible, perfect for diving. The Peninsula 1 docked at the marina. Cole and his group disembarked to explore. Wyatt and a few of the other guys couldn't wait and immediately headed for the dive club. They asked, and sure enough, there were female dive instructors. Quite a few, in fact. The club manager assumed the guys were asking for themselves and wasn't surprised. Wealthy men often requested female instructors. It wasn't about any illicit intentions. They just didn't like other men touching them. It felt weird. The club's female instructors were there to serve these clients and the female companions of other high-end customers. Of course, there were also female customers who specifically requested handsome male instructors. The manager was thrilled. This was a big order. He called out all the available female instructors, 8 in total. Add in the equipment rental, service fees, and the fact that they would be dining there afterward to replenish their energy, and it was a lucrative day. Cole and the others sat in the lounge area, waiting and enjoying the air conditioning. A moment later, he felt someone in the hall staring at him. He looked over and saw familiar faces. The two most notorious players from Eastwood University, Cora, Chun, and Julia. Cole glanced at them once and then looked away, turning his attention to a magazine article about diving equipment. He dived twice before, but he wasn't an expert. Not far away, Cora and Julia felt incredibly conflicted and awkward. They had watched Cole get off that massive yacht. They had arrived at the marina at roughly the same time from different directions. The Cole of today was no longer just a tea shop owner. He wasn't even the startup founder who had hired a bunch of campus beauties for a photo shoot. He was the renowned Mr. Chun, a famous name online. Handsome, wealthy, a self-made man. All sorts of titles were attached to his name. Cora and Julia had lost count of how many times they'd seen bloggers analyze him. The consensus was simple. He was a golden goose, and it was just a matter of which phoenix would get lucky. They never expected to run into him here. Both of them glanced at their new boyfriends and felt a wave of humiliation. Cora couldn't help but wonder. If she hadn't been so arrogant back then, would she be one of the women by his side now? Even just one of them would be enough. Julia, along with her regret, felt a surge of frustration. She had never managed to get Cole's contact info. It was infuriating. Watching the calm and composed Cole, both of them wanted to go over and say hello. They wished their new boyfriends would just disappear for a moment. But at the same time, they felt a sense of inadequacy. They recognized the girls sitting with Cole. Their auras were getting brighter and more dazzling. Even Luna, the girl who used to be a clerk at the tea shop, now had an air of serene confidence. She was the CFO of Headline today, and they were still just ordinary students. They hadn't even managed to become influencers. They also saw Amy. She was a major influencer now, earning enough that she didn't need to rely on a man. The more Cora and Julia looked, the worse they felt. It was a special kind of agony. "What's wrong, Cora?" her new boyfriend asked, concerned. "Oh, nothing. Probably just the sun," she said, wanting to escape but unwilling to. She wanted to see if Cole would notice her, but he had only glanced over once, as if he didn't recognize her. That made her even more determined. She swore that if Cole gave her even the slightest hint, she'd be over there in a second. Just then, 3 women and 2 men walked into the hall. They headed for the service counter, followed by 3 burly bodyguards. Seeing this entourage, the club manager knew that big money had arrived and personally went to greet them. Cora and Julia's boyfriends immediately recognized a tomboy with the dreadlocks who had flipped them off. She turned her head, saw them, and a wicked smile spread across her face. She gave them the middle finger again, this time with both hands. The 2 guys' faces turned black with anger, but they didn't dare confront her. They could only pretend to be above it all. Sabrina suddenly stopped, her gaze fixed on the lounge area. "What's wrong, Sabrina?" Sophia, now in a pair of sexy hot pants, asked. "Oh, nothing. I saw someone I know. You guys go ahead and book the instructors and equipment. I'll be right there," Sabrina said, looking away, not wanting her friend to notice. They had been exploring other parts of the island and had just arrived. She hadn't expected Cole to be here too. But what she really hadn't expected was that those 3 were also here. Had her plan failed? "Okay, call me when you're done," Sophia said, not thinking much of it, and focused on the manager's presentation. Jade, the tomboy, sat with her legs crossed, watching Sabrina's retreating back with curiosity. At that moment, Cole was explaining potential diving emergencies to his 3 girls, as well as to Yvonne, when a sweet voice called out. "Wow, Cole, you're here too." He looked up. "Damn, is the world really this small?" It was the crutch girl. Serena, Luna, Jasmine, hello. Sabrina waved to the 3 girls, a look of pure, innocent joy on her face. "Hello." Cole nodded slightly. "Hello." The 3 girls replied in unison, a strange look in their eyes. Of all the places, what a coincidence. "I thought you guys had gone somewhere else to play." "If I'd known, we should have come together," Sabrina said, her expression a mix of surprise and regret. She quickly added, "My family has a branch here, so I came to visit." She was explaining herself, letting them know she hadn't followed them on purpose. That would be too pathetic. A magnetic, almost breathy female voice, so soft it sounded affected, came from behind her. It was almost a moan. "Sabrina, are these your friends?" Hearing that voice, Sabrina's expression flickered. "My best friend is here to steal my man." Cole's 3 girls immediately looked over. They saw a girl with delicate features, wearing an off-the-shoulder t-shirt and ultra-short hot pants. Her figure was explosive. Her face was overtly flirtatious. But the most important thing was that she was staring intently at Cole, her eyes blazing with heat. Alarm bells screamed in the minds of all 3 girls. Danger! The club's main hall was bustling, with people scattered on sofas in small groups. But now, all eyes were drawn to one corner, where the highest concentration of beautiful women was located. Most of the people who came here to play had a bit of money. It wasn't that they hadn't seen beautiful women before, but they hadn't seen beauty so pure. The ones standing didn't count. Though attractive, they were just that, attractive. You could see right through them. But the ones sitting down truly deserved to be called beautiful. The men here were mostly under 40, ranging from their late 20s to 30s, and they all had beautiful women with them. But when they thought about what was on their own companions' minds, the whole thing felt stale. No one was a fool. It was all transactional. But the girls in that corner, you could tell from their eyes they weren't the same type. A few self-proclaimed elites considered trying to strike up a conversation. But looking at the scene, they decided against it. The standing group had 3 burly bodyguards. The sitting group clearly had 2 female bodyguards. And those female bodyguards had the cold, hawkish glare of someone you didn't mess with. Only the mob or the ultra-rich could afford personal bodyguards. The so-called elite class didn't have that kind of power. People in wealthy circles only flexed on ordinary folks. They knew better than anyone that there was always a bigger fish. Sabrina was furious, but she maintained a sweet smile as she glanced at Sophia. "That's right. This is my upperclassman and his friends." She then turned to Cole. "Cole, let me introduce you. This is my best friend, Sophia's song." Sophia, This is my upperclassman. Cole Chun. Sabrina really didn't want to say his name, but she had no choice. She was kicking herself. She shouldn't have come over directly. She just couldn't resist. When she heard the name, Cole Chun, the fire in Sophia's eyes burned even hotter. She had recognized his face, but wanted to confirm. He was even more handsome in person than in the pictures. And her friend had claimed they were retouched. It seemed this best friend was trying to hide him away. Even though Cole was still sitting, Sophia didn't mind. She walked past Sabrina, moving closer. She could have just leaned forward slightly to shake his hand, but instead, she bent at the waist. The neckline of her off-the-shoulder t-shirt sagged, and her braless top offered minimal coverage. The view was unobstructed. In that instant, not only did Cole's 3 girls' faces darken, but Sabrina's did as well. "Hello," Cole smiled, extending his hand. Sophia clearly intended to grasp his whole hand, but Cole only offered his fingertips. For a split second, she tried to press forward to let him feel her sincerity, maybe even graze his palm with her finger. But he pulled back. Some people saw the subtle advance and retreat, others didn't. Acting on pure masculine instinct, Cole almost glanced down at her neckline, but forced himself to resist. He smiled at her face, gave her fingertips a slight shake, and withdrew his hand. Sophia felt a tiny pang of disappointment, but her fighting spirit was undiminished. Men are all such fakers. He's just putting on a show because there are other women around. But even the most proper man can't resist a little peek. And with other beautiful girls around, I still have confidence in myself. Yvonne, sitting opposite them, saw it all clearly. No wonder he's so well fed by Jasmine, she thought with admiration. She noticed that besides Cole, everyone else at the table, male and female, had been drawn to that neckline. The girls, of course, with hostility. The male colleagues, with pure appreciation. It was a testament to Cole's willpower and how well he was being taken care of. Yvonne couldn't help but glance at the chests of the 3 VPs. "Sophia, we should go book our equipment before it's all taken," Sabrina prompted. "It's fine. Jade is handling it," Sophia answered distractedly, her fiery gaze still fixed on Cole. "Cole, I'd like to invite you to dive with us." She didn't call him Mr. Chun, pretending his status didn't exist. She also pretended the other girls didn't exist. Unlike Sabrina's playful approach, she focused solely on her target. Her moves were bold and direct, using the most primal methods of attraction to make him submit. If he was to her liking, she might even turn the game into reality for a while. She loved watching them become infatuated, then grovel at her feet. But this Cole was different. She was willing to put herself on the line and play for real, and she would use her full power to tame him. As for her best friend, she was just playing around anyway. She'd just throw her a bone later. "There are a lot of us, so we'll pass on diving together," Cole said with a polite smile. "Are you kidding? As if I'd go diving with you." His answer was what Sophia had expected. She wasn't disappointed. She knew he wouldn't agree. She was just extending the conversation. "Well, can we have dinner together after diving? I hear this club's restaurant has bluefin tuna sashimi, and it's amazing. We'll pass on dinner too. We're leaving right after we finish diving," Cole said, his smile unwavering. "All right then, I guess we'll have to make it another time." Sophia showed no disappointment. Instead, she broke into a radiant smile. She turned to Sabrina. "Sabrina, let's get going." "Yes, we should be on our way," Sabrina said, still wearing that sweet smile. She turned to Cole. "We'll see you later then." She waved at Jasmine and the others. "Bye." Sabrina didn't have time to worry about the 3-girl situation. She had to retreat and deal with her friend in private. "Bye, Cole." Sophia waved at him lightly. "Okay, bye." Cole raised a hand in return. As his eyes met hers, Sophia gave him a sultry wink, a blatant come on. Then she turned and walked away. All 3 of his girls immediately turned to gauge his reaction to that killer wink. But his gaze was already back on his magazine. A wave of satisfaction washed over them. They then watched the sexy girls retreating back. She swayed her hips as she walked, and while it wasn't a model's runway strut, it had all the same provocative rhythm. Serena wrinkled her nose, remembering when Cole had winked at her. This was different. Cole had been teasing her, but this woman's eyes held a blunt, direct invitation. Luna silently thought, shameless, just showing herself off like that. Good thing my brother didn't fall for it. Sophia's hot pants-clad rear swayed from side to side, drawing the eyes of many men. The fact that she was clearly from a wealthy family only made their gazes hotter. But not Cole's. First, he didn't dare look. Second, he had better options. Jasmine, who meticulously managed her figure, was the perfect embodiment of what a truly feminine walk looked like. It was like a perfectly ripe peach, sweet and tart all at once. Lately, The person Cole watched the most was Yvonne, his VP. She swayed her hips every day, and he couldn't say anything about it without her flying into a rage. Sophia's level of temptation might be a 12 out of 10 for someone else, but for Cole, it was a 1. It's a small world, huh? Cole said with an awkward laugh, glancing at his 3 girls. It's not small. Someone's just too charming, Jasmine said coolly. Overall, she was satisfied with his performance, but a seed of worry had been planted. That woman was so obvious. Who knew how many more would try to steal her Cole in the future? Sabrina and Luna said nothing. Cole's attitude had been perfect, beyond reproach. The 3 of them exchanged a look, and they all saw the same sense of crisis in each other's eyes. But this wasn't the time or place to discuss it. Meanwhile, back with Jade, Sabrina and Sophia were having a little chat. Sophia, I told you Cole was my target. What was that all about? Sabrina demanded, not holding back. Sabrina, I was helping you, Sophia said, unfazed, smiling at her friend. Noticing the heated gazes of many men, she even ran a hand through her hair, the movement of her arm making her chest even more prominent. Helping me? Seducing him is helping me. Sabrina was getting angry. Of course it's helping. Didn't you see the girls sitting next to him? Sophia argued. How could you succeed on your own? Your little divide-and-conquer scheme won't work overnight. And even if you manage to alienate 1 or 2 of them, what if there's a 4th or a 5th? But you hitting on him so directly will just make them band together even more, won't it? This was precisely why Sabrina had chosen to target the girls first. I'm creating chaos. You continue to sow discord among the 3 of them, and I'll launch a direct assault that will quickly create conflict between him and them. And then, Sophia put an arm around Sabrina's shoulder, trying to persuade her, but was cut off. And then Cole will be yours, right? Sabrina rolled her eyes. Sabrina, once he falls for me, I'll kick him to the curb. He'll definitely remember how good you were and come crawling back to you. The one kicking him to the curb should be me. I don't even want a real relationship with him. You said it yourself, Sabrina. Since you don't want to be with him for real, just let me have him. Sophia patted her friend's shoulder. I'll buy you a Porsche supercar, and if you want him to do something, I'll make him do it. Or I could just get with him and have him buy it for me, Sabrina said, not falling for it. Jade, who had been watching, finally chimed in with a laugh. Why don't you 2 work together? First, take down the opponents on his side, then you can compete against each other. You're just using him anyway. Don't let a man ruin your friendship. The 2 of them seemed tempted, but Sabrina was still reluctant. It would take half the fun out of it for her. Sabrina, we have the same goal. It's a win-win, Sophia said, wrapping her arm affectionately around her friend, a cunning glint in her eye. After a moment of thought, Sabrina finally said, fine, go ahead and try. She didn't say yes or no, but she knew what her friend was thinking. As long as those 3 were out of the picture, she was confident she could beat her friend. Seduction? Anyone could do that. The 2 of them whispered to each other. Onlookers were only interested in their figures and faces. No one paid attention to what they were saying. The water around West Isle was crystal clear, offering excellent visibility for diving. Several speedboats took the Headline Today team and their equipment to a suitable area. With the help of the instructors, the girls put on the heavy gear and descended into the underwater world. Cole, of course, was with his 3 girls, along with Yvonne, Lynn, Amy, and Fiona. With 8 female instructors plus Sasha and Riley, it was a massive group. Sasha and Riley geared up themselves and entered the water. The instructors, seeing how proficient they were, left them to it. Once underwater, they positioned themselves on either side of the group, monitoring everyone's safety, making sure no one strayed or got stuck. The familiar feeling returned to Cole as soon as he was underwater. He helped the instructors keep an eye on the girls, especially his 3. He never let them out of his sight, constantly holding their hands to let them know he was there. With only one man in the group, Jasmine, Sabrina, and Luna knew it was Cole. Once the gear was on, he could only tell them apart by their height and build. Luna was the easiest to identify. He would never mistake her. The full moon had to be Sabrina, and the peach was Jasmine. He could identify the others by their figures too, but he didn't dare get too close. His 3 girls had sharp eyes. It was the first time diving for most of the girls, and they were thrilled. Lynn was like a water monkey, darting up and down, making her instructor work the hardest. She tried to wander off, but was blocked by either Riley or Sasha. The underwater exploration went smoothly, without any incidents. The whole experience lasted only 30 minutes. Any longer wouldn't be good for ordinary people, as the prolonged water pressure could be harmful. Back on the speedboat, they did a head count, and after confirming everyone was there, they went to pick up the next batch. 1 instructor per person. Cole paid an extra tip. The back-and-forth trips and the constant gearing up and down were hard work. As long as everyone was safe and having fun, money was no object. After diving, everyone returned to the club's second-floor restaurant. They took up 4 long tables, excitedly chatting about their underwater adventures while feasting on seafood. The atmosphere was lively and harmonious. A short while later, 2 men and 2 women walked into the restaurant. Cora and Julia immediately spotted Cole at the long tables. They both instinctively looked away, pretending not to see him. They were torn between wanting him to say hello and dreading it. For the first time, they tasted what it felt like to be inferior. To their relief and disappointment, Cole never seemed to notice them. The 4 of them took the last small table for 4 in the restaurant. They thought they could finally eat in peace. But just as they sat down, 3 burly men in sunglasses appeared and stood by their table. "Hey guys, could we talk you into giving us this table?" the leader asked, seemingly polite. "Sorry, we were here first. You'll have to find another one," Julia's new boyfriend said coldly. "Okay then, enjoy your meal," the man said with a smile. But the 3 of them didn't leave. They just stood there, motionless, looking out the window like statues. No arguments, no threats, just silently waiting them out. The 4 at the table felt like they were sitting on pins and needles. The 2 men looked constipated, their faces grim. They wanted to drive them away, but didn't have the courage, and they certainly couldn't win a fight. The other diners glanced over casually, not wanting to get involved. They figured it was some kind of personal dispute. At the restaurant entrance, Jeju leaned against the doorframe, a lollipop in her mouth, arms crossed. She watched the 4 people at the table with great interest. She despised women who wore tight little dresses to snag rich guys. And she despised men who brought girls out to show off even more. Whenever she encountered them, she had to mess with them. She'd already done it to several couples on this trip. Oomph, that'll teach you to be posers. She glanced over at the table where Cole was sitting. That was the one she really wanted to mess with. A man with several girls around him, a total chauvinist. It just rubbed her the wrong way. But they seemed a little hard to deal with. That guy, Cole, was actually really handsome. Oomph, handsome guys are annoying too. She only thought about it, but she didn't dare act. It wasn't because they had more people, or because he was the target of her 2 best friends. It was because Cole had glanced at her earlier. His eyes were Cole, and those 2 female bodyguards had looked at her too. They were prepared. If she went over there, a fight might break out, which would affect the club. Then her family would have to clean up the mess, and she'd get an earful. Back at the headline today, tables. "Cole, doesn't that girl over there look like a student from your business school? I remember she did a photo shoot for Headline Today once," Jasmine said, nudging her brother with her elbow. "That's her," Cole nodded. He'd seen her long ago. "Jasmine, those 2 tried to get Cole's number before, but he didn't give it to them," Luna chimed in quickly. She had a vivid memory of Cora and Julia. Cora had been so arrogant in the cafeteria last year, and Julia had come to the Tea Alchemist multiple times trying to seduce her brother, even showing off her cleavage. "Oh, then we don't need to bother with them," Jasmine said, instantly relieved. Anyone who dared to ask for her Cole's number could just stay away. Cora and Julia were already uncomfortable, feeling like everyone was laughing at them. When they noticed that Cole's table had also spotted them, they couldn't sit still any longer. Maybe we should just go back to the hotel to eat. Let's not stoop to their level and ruin our mood," Cora said to her boyfriend. "Yeah, let's not bother with them. Let's go back," Julia agreed. "Sigh, fine. I really don't want to deal with people like this." "So weird." Cora's boyfriend sighed. He knew these were the bodyguards of that girl with the dreadlocks. What a nightmare. How had he even offended her? Seeing the 4 of them getting up to leave, the 3 burly men quickly stepped aside, thanking them profusely. Thank you. You're so kind. You're such good people." The 4 of them looked like they had just swallowed poison. What could they even say? Even if they complained, the men could just claim they had given up the table voluntarily. They left the restaurant with sour faces, Cora and Julia practically running. Once they were out of the club, they finally breathed a sigh of relief. Those strange looks had been like daggers. They were left with a belly full of frustration and nowhere to vent it. In the restaurant, the 3 bodyguards went back outside. Jade sat down leisurely at the 4-person table. She took out her phone to text her 2 friends who were in the restroom. The restaurant manager personally brought over a menu. "Hello, Ms. Zhu. What can I get for you?" He had seen everything that happened. As long as there was no shouting or fighting, the club wouldn't interfere. He'd already been told over his radio who this girl was. The construction materials and paint used for this very club were supplied by the Zhu family. The Zhu family had deep connections locally. The choice between losing 4 minor customers or offending a local powerhouse wasn't a hard one to make. "I have 2 more friends coming. We'll order in a bit." "Thank you," Jade said. Her attitude completely changed, a bright smile on her face. They were showing each other mutual respect. None of these rich kids were stupid. Weakness was the original sin. After lunch, they could rest at the club, which offered all sorts of services. Full body massages, swimming, fishing with beautiful companions. Anything you could think of, they had it. The single guys from Headline Today went for massages and fishing. Preston, the influencer, reluctantly chose a massage. As for Cole, he had to be the perfect gentleman. He took the girls back to the yacht for a nap. The lower deck had a large master bedroom with a king-size bed. Unfortunately, Mr. Chun could only lie on the bench seat by the porthole window. And that wasn't all. A little while later, Yvonne, Lynn, and a few others came in, chattering away. There were 6 or 7 other rooms, but besides this large master bedroom, the others were tiny. They had given those to the couples. So they had to make do in here, lying on the bed, on the floor, wherever they could find a spot. Cole was actually lucky. The bench seat had become his own private space. When the single guys returned from their activities, they collapsed in the second-floor lounge and karaoke area. They had all just had massages, but they looked even more tired than before. They were used to the fact that the girls were all in the same room as Cole. With those 3 around, he couldn't get into any trouble. And even if he did, it wasn't like they had a chance anyway. Not just anyone could have designs on Yvonne. The directors from the branch offices who had come along were terrified of her. And Lynn was a whole other story. She had a powerful background and even dared to talk back to Cole. In the master bedroom, there was a knock on the door. Lynn, who had gone to the restroom, came back in. Cole, the captain wants to talk to you. Seems urgent. Okay, I'll go see. Cole scrambled up. Lynn nonchalantly walked past him and immediately claimed the window seat. Haha, just kidding. The captain's not even here. Don't expect me to push your floatie tomorrow, Cole said with a cold laugh, sliding down to lie on the floor against the wall. Fine by me. Lynn snorted. After everyone had woken up from their afternoon nap, the yacht started moving again, cruising slowly along the coastline. As the sun began to set, they would find a spot to anchor. The sun dipped low, a fiery orange orb hanging over the sea, painting the water in shifting shades of gold. Everyone was spread out on the decks, admiring the breathtaking view. Cole and his 3 girls were at the bow, watching the sunset together. The only downside was that he had to stand behind them. The front row was packed with women. Jasmine, feeling a sense of sublime peace, turned to look at her brother, only to find him right there. Their lips almost touched. In the sunset's glow, his face was bathed in a warm, golden light. Even though they had kissed many times, at this moment, he wanted nothing more than to kiss her deeply, right here, in the middle of this beautiful sunset over the sea. They stared at each other, their throats tightening. It was clear they were thinking the same thing. Cole quickly glanced at the others. Seeing that they were all captivated by the sunset, he leaned in and pecked her on the lips. A soft, silent touch. Jasmine shot him a playful glare and turned back around, her eyes full of happiness. She could feel his possessiveness and love for her. As if on cue, Serena and Luna both glanced back, but they only saw Cole smiling. They smiled back sweetly and turned to watch the sunset again. When they felt his hands on their waists, their smiles became even more serene. Most people didn't notice this little scene, and those who did chose to ignore it. The sun slowly sank below the horizon, leaving behind a sky painted with the vibrant colors of dusk. The view was even more beautiful, but at some point, another yacht had appeared, cruising less than 30 feet away, keeping pace with the Peninsula one. Hello, Cole. On the 3rd deck of the other yacht, Sophia Song, in a bikini and sunglasses, lounged on a deck chair and waved at him. Everything that could be revealed was. Lying next to her was Sabrina in a one-piece, who called out with a look of pleasant surprise, Cole, everyone, what a coincidence. And then there was Jade, also in a bikini. The guy's attention was immediately captured. Cole's 3 girls didn't look at the other boat first. They looked at him. Good boy. No wandering eyes. Jasmine couldn't help but think, should I reward him tonight? Cole, however, was thinking something else entirely. The captain of our yacht probably sold our coordinates. Just as Cole was about to wave back, a pair of hands covered his eyes. He knew from the scent that it was Serena. They're not wearing any clothes. You're not allowed to look, she said playfully. Oh, they're not wearing clothes? Then I won't look. I'll just watch the sunset and the sea, Cole said, amused, but he let her do it. He gave a casual wave in the other direction, a perfunctory greeting. When he turned his head, Serena let go. The scene gave everyone another glimpse into a different side of their VP of Legal Affairs. Fiona and the others had strange expressions. Yvonne wasn't wearing anything last night, so why didn't you cover Cole's eyes then? Is there a double standard? Jasmine and Luna's expressions were neutral. They didn't want Cole to look either, but they wouldn't have thought to cover his eyes. What Sabrina did was exactly what they wanted. The three of them just gave a faint wave. Their mood for watching the sunset had been ruined, and they didn't have to pretend otherwise. On the other yacht, Sabrina and Sophia nearly lost their composure. It felt like a slap in the face. How could he do that? You're a boss, for God's sake. Don't you have a mind of your own? Can a woman control you with a single sentence? Sabrina's once clear strategy was becoming a bit muddled. What was the deal with those three girls? Sabrina was being so intimate, and the other two didn't have a problem with it? They must have, she reasoned. Their expressions had already soured. Logically, this should create a rift between them. Despite their annoyance, they had to maintain their innocent and sweet personas. Sabrina covered her mouth and giggled, as if she wasn't angry at Cole's dismissiveness but found it amusing. Sophia, beside her, was also frustrated. She suddenly felt that her opponents were quite formidable. To be able to stop a man like that meant they were very important to him. But a small setback was nothing. Men would always be tempted to cheat. Even with a woman by their side, they would always want to sneak a peek at other women, especially women in bikinis. Sophia was very confident in her own appeal. Look at his employees. They're all staring at me. Can Cole really resist? Such a faker. Just you wait. He'll definitely seek me out in secret. She tilted her head back, gathered her hair, and tossed it behind her, her chest jiggling with the movement. Then she laid back down, gazing leisurely into the distance. Her sensual pose held the single guys from Headline Today transfixed. Jade looked from one boat to the other, then at her two friends. She said nothing, her thoughts a mystery. On the Peninsula 1, Cole glanced back at the third-floor control room. He knew what had happened. No matter who he had hired as captain, his coordinates would have been sold. Reporting it was useless. First, the captain and his wife would deny it. Second, the club would, at most, make a token gesture. Good captains were hard to find, and the couple had been diligent in all other respects throughout the day. Still, he had planned on giving them another $300 tip at the end. Forget it. In the control room, I think the boss knows, the woman said. Sai, what can we do? How could we refuse, Miss Zhu? All she wanted was a chance encounter, the man sighed. We probably won't get another tip, and they won't hire us again, the woman said, pained. It can't be helped. We're just trying to make a living. We can't afford to offend the Zhu family, the man sighed again. A little while later, the single guys from Headline Today suddenly let out a collective whoa. Curious, Cole was about to turn and look when Jasmine's small hand cupped his cheek, preventing him from turning his head. Nothing to see. Someone's just dancing. Oh, okay. Cole thought it wouldn't hurt to watch a free performance. But since Jasmine had said so, he had to listen. He fought back his curiosity and didn't turn his head. On the neighboring yacht, Sophia was blasting music from her phone and dancing on the deck, swaying to the rhythm. Her figure was curvaceous, and she wore sunglasses. Her entire being radiated sensuality. The single guys were mesmerized. The women on Cole's boat were stunned, as if their minds operated on a different frequency. They would rather die than wear a bikini and dance like that in front of so many people. After watching for a few moments, Cole's three girls had looks of disgust on their faces. Seeing that Cole remained obediently facing forward, they finally felt at ease. Cole, Jasmine leaned close to his ear. When we get home, we'll dance for you, okay? In bikinis? Cole whispered back with a wicked grin. That's all you think about. Jasmine pinched his side. Serena and Luna glanced over, but said nothing, curious about the whispered conversation, but holding back from asking. On the other yacht, Sophia danced for a while. At first, she was quite pleased with all the attention she was getting. It was fun to tease them, to let them look but not touch. But when she realized her main target still hadn't turned his head, the fun vanished. Her face fell. She dropped the act, turned off the music, and lay back down. When had she, Sophia's song, ever been on the receiving end of cold shoulder? It was always men who groveled at her feet like dogs in heat, only to be kicked away. But Cole's behavior left her with a sense of resentful indignation, as if he were looking down on her. He hadn't done anything, hadn't said anything, but she felt incredibly uncomfortable. She looked down on a man so easily controlled by women. But deep down, she wanted to be the woman who could so easily control him. If she could do that, his wealth would be hers. Among all her peers, known and unknown, she could proudly declare, "You are all just accessories, but I have become the master." The difference in status will be clear. Even her two best friends were destined to be mere accessories, unable to control their family's wealth, or even their own husbands. They would just have a good life and a fancy title, so-and-so's daughter-in-law. Sophia suddenly realized that her friend's plan to sow discord among the three girls was a bad idea. They should be sowing discord between Cole and the girls. Create a rift. Only then would there be an opportunity to strike. A strange light flashed in her eyes. Not only would she drive a wedge between Cole and the three girls, but she would also make him despise her own best friend, just to prevent any future accidents. At that moment, Sabrina, seeing her friend's failure, felt a sense of satisfaction. See, I told you that kind of seduction was too low class. If it were that easy, I wouldn't have had to bother with the three girls. Serena and Jasmine, one covering his eyes, the other turning his face, and Cole didn't resist at all. Their relationship was so harmonious that it made Sabrina even more jealous, but it also made her want to conquer him even more. This was something she had never experienced before. Cole's aura, combined with his ability to resist her friend's temptation, only strengthened her desire to conquer him. However, she also became more wary of her friend. If Sophia succeeded, it would be harder for her to make a move, and her friend would just gloat. Her friend's interference was deeply annoying. But after so many years of friendship, she couldn't say anything. The yacht was a blaze of light against the night sea. The earlier interruption hadn't dampened the girls' spirits. They laid out a spread of food and drinks on the second deck, sitting around the table, eating and chatting. No one paid any mind to the neighboring vessel. Since Cole hadn't given the signal, Preston and the other single guys were content to just look, not daring to act on their own. Before long, the yacht next to them started its engines, turned around, and headed back toward the coast. Since Cole and the three girls were engrossed in their food, Sabrina and Sophia had no interest in saying goodbye to anyone else. They left without a word. Once they had eaten and drunk their fill, the Peninsula One also made its way back. Back at the villa, the girls, still buzzing with energy, jumped back into the pool. Several of them hadn't dared to go in the ocean today and were eager for a swim. Cole didn't join them, instead heading to the other villa to chat with Wyatt and the guys who had dropped by for a visit. Over drinks, they talked about the market and the shifts in competing products. When he returned around 11 or 12, the villa was quiet. It seemed everyone had already gone to their rooms. Cole glanced up at the darkened master bedroom on the second floor, but didn't go up. Wearing a pair of swim trunks, he slipped into the pool, sitting on the steps near the edge, his back against the cool tile. The water came up just past his chest, giving him the feeling of soaking in a hot tub. It was exceptionally comfortable, a perfect release for his stress. It was only when he was alone like this that his thoughts truly began to surface. Headline today was Surviving in the Cracks Between Giants. How could there not be pressure? The only reason it was making constant progress was because he kept feeding it new ideas, keeping it at the forefront, leading the trend in new media. The products backed by a host of venture capital titans kept imitating him but could never surpass him. But for Cole, that was a good thing. Once you get used to copying, you fall into a state of inertia. Headline today would always be one step ahead. His competitors were constantly raising new rounds of funding, going public, and reaping massive dividends on the stock market. But that money wasn't immediately liquid. A rising stock price sounded great, but if the product itself didn't break new ground, it would eventually stagnate or decline. He'd seen it happen to countless products in his past life. By the time they were delisted, they'd find they had lost hundreds of millions. Where did the money go? It was siphoned off by shareholders. Shareholders don't care about the product. They only care about the stock price. Why didn't the head of TikTok take his company public in his previous life? Was it because he couldn't? No, it was because there was no need. The only reason to go public is to make money, and he was already strong enough, with more than enough. He could invest in whatever he wanted. The money was practically inexhaustible. Besides, it had become a mouthpiece for the nation, something that couldn't be controlled by foreign capital. Even if it weren't, that mogul would never have let other investors have any control. Early investors got a cut of the profits, but they were never to interfere with a single operational decision. That's why TikTok was the only one that stood tall, growing stronger and stronger. Just as he was pondering company matters, his phone, sitting on the edge of the pool, rang. Cole quickly stood up and grabbed it, answering before it could wake the girls upstairs. It was Spencer Chun. Hello, Spencer. Cole, hey, it's late. What's up? Just a small thing. Something I've been thinking about for the last month or so. Go on. Slice Video has some serious momentum lately, Spencer said in a probing tone. I've even been approached by people asking if we're looking for funding. The shareholder structure of domestic companies was public record, so this was all but transparent. So what are your thoughts? Cole asked, turning the question back on him instead of giving a direct refusal. He wanted to see his cousin-in-law's insight and courage. Spencer was silent for a long moment on the other end of the line before he finally answered. To be honest, I'm a little tempted by the idea of an IPO. But then again, I could never have come up with Headline Today or Slice Video. So, I wanted to hear your take on it. It was the truth. The world wasn't short on talented algorithm engineers, but there was only one headline today. Spencer, do you want to go fishing for bluefin tuna with me? Or do you just want to cast a few nets and fill the boat? Cole asked, his eyes deep and inscrutable. What do you mean by that? Spencer understood the gist of it, but wanted to hear Cole explain it himself. Casting a few nets is the fastest, lowest cost way to fish. It looks like you've caught a lot, but the actual value is low, and you have to sell it all as fast as you can, or it'll rot in the hold. You have to split the money you make, and once it's split, you have to go right back out. And even if you don't want to, there will be plenty of people pushing you to. There's no money to upgrade your boat or your equipment because everyone is just thinking about the next haul, the next quick buck. Cole was talking about fishing, but he was really talking about a company losing control to short-sighted shareholders. A new company, its wings not yet fully formed, could be easily manipulated. He was talking about Spencer's impatience, his desire for more, faster, even though things were already moving quickly. Why would shareholders care about upgrading equipment? When those issues were raised at shareholder meetings, they were often shot down. Most critically, going public meant you had to disclose all your financial information. Every move you wanted to make would be constrained. Spencer sounded chagrined. He really did want to move faster. Cole continued, but catching bluefin tuna requires the best equipment, the best boat. It requires patience and focus. If you're constantly upgrading every aspect of your operation, catching tuna becomes routine. You can even pick up other valuable things along the way with no competition. Do you understand the difference? I was just spitballing. It doesn't really matter if we go public or not. Things are going great right now. I have nothing to worry about, Spencer said, clearly embarrassed. Slice Video's library of film and television content was reasonably complete, and they had already launched their VIP subscription. Bundled with Headline Today, many users were willing to pay for it. That was a considerable source of revenue, on top of advertising. If an ad was placed through Headline Today, Slice got a cut. If it was placed directly on Slice, the revenue was all theirs. And users could even tip content creators, with Slice taking a percentage. That revenue stream was still small, but as time went on, it was projected to grow. Good. I'm glad to hear you think that way, Cole said seriously. Let's put the idea of funding on hold for now. Even if we took the money, we'd have nowhere to spend it. Our current capital is more than enough for us to expand. Stay grounded, and I guarantee you'll have more money than you can spend, and no one will be able to touch your equity. After a company goes public and issues more stock, the original shareholders' equity is diluted. Outside capital gradually buys up shares from individual investors, eventually gaining a controlling stake in the company. Once they have control, they're breathing down your neck, pushing you to work, monitoring your every move. You need their approval for everything you want to do. That's how a lot of companies die. After an IPO, you can't stop shareholders from selling. If Spencer, for instance, couldn't resist the temptation and sold his shares to another firm, Cole would quickly lose control. Those public companies were a constant battlefield of internal power struggles. That's why the agreements Cole had signed with Vanessa Fan and Spencer Chen explicitly stated they could not interfere with operations. They were entitled to dividends and to review financial reports. If they wanted to sell their equity, it could only be sold back to Cole at a reasonable price. Over the phone, Spencer said, "All right, I get it. We'll just focus on making money steadily. By the way, there's something else I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "That. Serena's there with you, right?" "She is." "So, where's she sleeping?" "The master bedroom," Cole said deliberately. "What? The master bedroom? With you?" Spencer was horrified. This was a disaster. It was going to blow everything up. "Not with me. With the other girls," Cole said, cutting it short to avoid any more drama. Then, his tone turned sharp with displeasure. "I don't understand. Why are you all so focused on this? Are you really planning on using her as a bargaining chip?" The accusation hung in the air, blunt and direct. "This is what Serena's mother, my aunt, wants. If she's not dating anyone, she can focus on her studies," Spencer said, sidestepping the term bargaining chip. "Given your situation, it's a good thing for her to maintain her status. If things don't work out in the future, she won't be as hurt or lose as much." My situation? Cole had a sinking feeling he knew what was coming. "Yes, you're not just involved with Serena right now," Spencer said plainly. "The family doesn't know about that yet. They don't really follow what's happening online. But once they find out, Serena will be transferred to another school immediately. It won't be up for discussion. And what if Serena doesn't agree? It won't be up to her. That's unbelievably controlling. Look who's talking. This is completely different. To the family, it's all the same thing." "Huh, Cole chuckled humorlessly. If you don't help me, you're out of next year's project. And that one is 1,000 times bigger than Slice Video. I'll just work with Vanessa. I'm already helping you. Otherwise, the family would have known ages ago. Spencer sounded exasperated. It's not enough. You know I don't need any other capital investment, Cole said with a faint smile. Fuck, what do you want from me? Keep your family and your aunt stable. Until I'm ready. You want me to betray them? Whether or not your sons and grandsons inherit a stake worth tens of billions of dollars depends entirely on your cousin. Holy shit. And I might be lowballing it. Do you swear on headline today? Is it really that much? I swear. It is. After hanging up, Cole felt a strange sense of relief. He really had been worried about the Shun family using some minor infraction to cause trouble. With Spencer as a nail holding things in place, he could rest a little easier. Spencer could see the potential profits, and since he had already given up on a political career, there was no reason for him not to help. Cole sank back into the water, his mind inevitably drifting to the bewitching beauty of Jasmine. If she were here in this pool. He'd never tried that before. Upstairs in the master bedroom, Jasmine suddenly woke up. She glanced at the sofa. It was empty. Cole's not back yet. She heard a faint sound from the pool below. Her first instinct was to check if the other two girls were still there. A glance brought a wave of relief. They were. But then her heart leaped in her throat. Downstairs. It couldn't be Yvonne, could it? Or Lynn. Cole was a man brimming with vitality. If he got too pent up, he might be tempted to snack on whatever was available. Lynn was still too immature. Even though she always bickered with him, if he actually pinned her down, she probably wouldn't make a sound. But that would be a disaster for Cole. He'd feel obligated to marry her. And Yvonne, she'd probably turn the tables on him. A jolt of anxiety shot through Jasmine. She quietly got out of bed and tiptoed to the balcony. She peered down. The breath she was holding rushed out. It was just Cole all alone. Watching him float by himself in the pool, she felt a pang of guilt. He must be exhausted. He was only 19, but he was carrying this massive company, all these people, on his shoulders. He never indulged himself. He drove an Audi, still used the same phone he'd bought for college. He didn't go out clubbing or party, didn't play golf, didn't hang out at private clubs. When he went out for business, it was for actual business. And he still listened to her. Jasmine silently watched Cole blowing bubbles in the pool, and her eyes gradually grew moist. So what if he was a little greedy? Let him be, as long as he didn't mess around with girls outside their circle. No one in the world is perfect, and if they seem to be, they're faking it. It's better to channel a river than to dam it up. Managing a husband was like managing a company. You set principles and red lines, but some things required a more flexible touch. After watching for a few moments, Jasmine padded barefoot toward the door and gently turned the lock. Wearing a slinky silk nightgown, she slipped out. Cole was the only man here, so she had nothing to fear. In the pool, Cole was happily blowing bubbles when he heard a soft voice from the villa entrance behind him. Cole! He turned to see Jasmine in her nightdress, walking toward him. Her long, straight legs seemed to glow white in the night. The curves of her body, wrapped in the thin silk, were particularly alluring under the lights. Cole swallowed hard and said with a low, smiling voice, Jasmine, why aren't you asleep? I just woke up. I saw you down here and came to check on you. Jasmine walked down the steps into the water. Cole quickly stood up and took her hand, afraid she might slip. The silk of her nightdress was instantly soaked. He thought she would sit next to him, but she didn't. Cole wrapped his hands around her firm waist and back, and they held each other quietly in the water. Jasmine's usually commanding voice softened to a murmur in his ear. Cole, it's only been a little while, but I've missed you so much. I missed you too, Jasmine, Cole said, kissing her neck. Jasmine craned her long, pale neck, inviting him to kiss her however he pleased. After a few more kisses, Cole asked deliberately, Jasmine, was I a good boy today? Very good, she answered with satisfaction. Then is there a reward? Cole grinned wickedly, his hands tightening slightly. What kind of reward do you want? I want. You're always full of wicked ideas. Jasmine swatted him playfully. After a long moment, a flushed Jasmine, her hair now dripping wet, leaned close to his ear and whispered, Can we not? They might hear. No. Cole shook his head, a wicked smile on his face. They won't. The volume is all up to you, Jasmine. A moment later, a hushed, delicate voice called out from the villa entrance. Cole, Jasmine, what are you two doing? The sound made Jasmine jump, and she sat down to the side, mortified. It was her own fault. She'd been facing the villa and hadn't even noticed. It was like she was blind. She pinched his waist hard under the water. If it weren't for this bastard, she wouldn't be in such an embarrassing situation. This was mortifying. Cole couldn't even complain. Being interrupted halfway was torture. But before he could say anything, the person was already upon them. Serena tiptoed to the edge of the pool, dressed in an ice silk nightgown, her pale feet bare. Cole, I want to come down to... Cole quickly got up, took her hand, and helped her into the water. He immediately sat back down, lest he reveal his current state. Serena sat next to him and glanced at Jasmine, who was resting against the pool wall on the other side. Jasmine, what's wrong? I'm fine. Jasmine stammered, trying to catch her breath. I just stubbed my toe on the step. Her flushed face was hidden in the shadows. Really? A flicker of doubt crossed Serena's eyes. We should check if your nail is okay. She wasn't questioning the stubbed toe, but rather the fact that just a moment ago, it looked like Cole and Jasmine had been hugging. Jasmine's head had been resting on Cole's shoulder. If it was just a hug, that was fine, but there was something else she couldn't quite grasp, a fuzzy notion she couldn't bring into focus. She'd never encountered anything like this before, never even heard about it, so she had no way to judge. She had a vague concept, but no idea what it actually entailed. Right, I need to check my toenail, Jasmine said, seizing the excuse to get up and climb out of the pool via the steps. She kept her head down, not daring to let Serena see her face. She knew she must be blushing furiously. Feeling Serena's scrutinizing gaze, she stumbled, nearly losing her footing. The wet silk of her nightgown clung to her body, outlining every curve. Cole, dizzy from the sight, said, Jasmine, you should go get some sleep. Okay, you should come up soon. Jasmine fled as if escaping a disaster. She needed a shower. Once Jasmine's retreating figure disappeared into the living room, Serena threw her arms around Cole's neck and whispered, Cole, I can't sleep well when you're not there. It's okay. I'll be up in a minute. My prized piglet wants you to hold him, she murmured, using their private pet name for him. Okay, I'll hold my piglet while we sleep. Cole hugged her tightly, letting her rest her head on his shoulder like a child. Cole, what is it? You fiend, Serena murmured, wiggling her body against him. That little squirm was enough for her to feel the disturbance on the surface of the pool water. So that's what it was. A wave of sourness washed over her. Cole, I don't like you anymore. A new set of ripples spread out. Whatever Jasmine got, she was going to get too. Cole endured it with sheer force of will, asking with smile, why doesn't my piglet like me anymore? No. Why? Cole, I love you. My prized piglet loves you. Do you love your piglet? I love my piglet, Cole said, tenderly cradling the back of her neck to help her rest more comfortably. On the second-floor balcony, Jasmine, fresh from her shower, pulled her gaze away and quietly slipped back into the room. She didn't know what to feel. She had been mentally prepared for this, but seeing it still stung. Yet, when she thought about the pressure Cole was under and how obedient he was to her, she felt a sense of release. Besides, could he really just endure it without finishing? She was certain she had seen clearly. It wasn't the same as it had been with her. The thought brought her a small measure of comfort. When Cole was with her, he was unable to control himself. In a room on the other side of the second-floor hallway, Yvonne pulled back the curtain, taking in the entire scene. That emperor of debauchery, Cole Chun. Shameless. God, I want to join them so badly. Once the dust had settled, Yvonne let the curtain fall and threw herself back on the bed with a resentful sigh. Next to her, Lynn was grinding her teeth occasionally, sleeping soundly. Yvonne, however, tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. Finally, she yanked the pillow out from under her head. It was a waste to use it for sleeping anyway. When Cole carried a dripping wet Serena upstairs, Jasmine and Luna were already fast asleep. The next morning, Jasmine and Serena were still sleeping soundly when Luna woke up. She felt wonderfully rested. Ever since she'd gotten together with Cole, her sleep quality had been amazing. Except for that one time she'd been heartbroken and suffered from insomnia. She was usually out the moment her head hit the pillow, and she woke up full of energy. She looked at the two girls beside her. Strange, why were they both sleeping in so late? They were usually awake by now, especially Jasmine, who always got up early to exercise. Huh, they're sleeping in their underwear. Where are their nightgowns? Luna got out of bed and crept over to the sofa where Cole was sleeping soundly. She stole a quick kiss on his cheek. That's when she noticed two nightgowns hanging to dry on the balcony. What's this about? Why were their nightgowns washed in the middle of the night? They were definitely wearing them when they went to sleep. Completely puzzled, she went to wash up, then changed into a t-shirt and shorts. On the balcony, she began the leg stretches and hip openers that Jasmine had taught her. The three of them had decided last night that they would rehearse a new dance routine when they got back, so they needed to stay flexible. An hour later, Jasmine and Serena finally woke up. They exchanged a look, a bit embarrassed, but with a silent, mutual understanding. Cole was up too, and he brought them their dry nightgowns from the balcony. He also pretended nothing had happened, to save his two little babies any further awkwardness. In a room across the hall, E.W. Yvonne, you drool when you sleep, Lynn said, pointing at Yvonne's pillow with a disgusted look. The pillow in question was tossed to the side, where Yvonne hadn't used it at all. Lynn assumed she'd stopped using it because of the drool. Huh, must have been dreaming, Yvonne said with a dry laugh. Without batting an eye, she stripped the pillowcase off and took it to the bathroom to wash. She couldn't let the housekeeper take it. The reason was unspeakable. Dreaming? Were you dreaming about eating something? Lynn asked curiously. Yeah, sashimi. I've had that before. It's gross, Lynn said, remembering a bad experience at a Japanese restaurant. It's all right, I guess, Yvonne replied dismissively. Cole's face swam in her mind. She was discovering more and more that she completely idolized Emperor Cole. She had to find a way to break into his inner circle. But she also knew she couldn't rush it. She had even fantasized about all three of them getting pregnant. Huh, a pin-up Cole would have no choice but to pounce on her, right? Yes, from now on, she would have to drop some heavy hints to the other three. Pregnant women shouldn't be running around. She would take responsibility for looking after them. Huh, Yvonne, what are you smiling about while washing a pillowcase? Lynn asked, completely baffled. Haha, nothing. Just happy to be washing. Yvonne forced a laugh. Yvonne, why don't you have a boyfriend yet? Lynn had been curious about this for a while. This girl, with her impressive salary, was still single. She was practically an old maid. No time. Maybe later, when I have time, Yvonne said. What she was really thinking was, when is Cole going to get them pregnant? She turned the question back on Lynn. Why don't you have a boyfriend? It's boring. I don't want to date. Lynn wagged a finger. Thinking about her mother's experiences put her off the idea completely. You'll change your mind when you meet the right person, Yvonne said with a chuckle. Then her expression turned mischievous. But you should stay away from Mr. Chun. He's a total lek. Never go into his office alone. But you go into his office alone all the time. I always see you going in, Lynn challenged, though she agreed that Cole was a lek. I'm discussing work, Yvonne retorted defensively. Oh right, Lynn supposed that made sense. After breakfast, the Headline Today team went parasailing together. It was a huge booking, and the small business owner who ran the operation couldn't stop smiling. Cole and his three girls didn't go. Parasailing required an instructor to accompany you, and all the instructors were men. And Cole was a very petty man. Since he wasn't going, his girls didn't even bring it up. Yvonne and Lynn didn't go either. The former knew very well that Emperor Cole was a petty man. If she wanted to get into his good graces, she had to maintain a pristine image. She had to avoid any situation that could even lead to an accident. Lynn just thought it was boring. She'd flown a hang glider by herself before, so a parasail was just a little toy to her. Preston naturally went parasailing. Perhaps his luck with women had turned, because a girl he didn't know started following him around. Cole had sized her up. She was dressed plainly and didn't seem like one of the flyers. She looked more like someone who had come here alone to clear her head, so he relaxed. Preston wasn't just his roommate. He was one of Headline Today's celebrity brands. He couldn't let him get scammed. Cole and the girls found a quieter stretch of beach. The sand was smooth, and there were hotel lounge chairs and umbrellas. Cole lay back lazily in a chair, watching the girls, their long skirts fluttering, wearing sunglasses and hats as they played in the waves and took pictures. Whenever Sabrina found a pretty shell, she would hold it up high and cheer for Cole to see. When Luna found one, she would hold it between her fingers and show it to him silently. Jasmine and Yvonne weren't particularly interested in shells. They chatted about work. Lynn, upon seeing a shell, would just stomp it into the sand. Cole was enjoying the scene when he heard a whirring sound pass overhead. A drone quickly flew away into the distance. He wasn't surprised to see a drone these days. DJI's Ryukon camera drone was already quite famous. What was strange was what there was to film here. Probably just someone new to the hobby, he thought. Not long after, a shadow fell over him. A figure in a low-cut, light red floral sundress appeared beside his chair. She was buxom, but it wasn't Sophia's song. Hello, Mr. Chun. The newcomer's voice was slightly husky and mature. Beneath her sunglasses was a refined and firm face. High-nose bridge, wide mouth. Her features were quite striking. She looked to be around 30, exuding the air of a sophisticated woman. The sea breeze kicked up, making her skirt flutter and revealing long, firm legs that were slightly tanned. It looked like she worked out regularly. She wore crystal sandals with heels at least 3 inches high, which made her calves taut and straight. Hello, and you are? Cole sat up. From his reclined position, the viewing angle was a bit too compromising. He didn't recognize this woman. To be honest, I ran into you at the diving club yesterday, and I just saw you over at the parasailing area. So I thought I'd come by and say hello, the woman said, sitting down in a chair next to him. The corners of her mouth, hidden behind her sunglasses, curved into a smile. Was that drone yours? Cole asked. No, it belongs to a friend of mine, the woman laughed. What can I do for you? Cole's eyes narrowed behind his sunglasses. She had sought him out specifically. Catherine.She. At some point, the woman had produced a business card, which she now held out to Cole. Cole took it and looked. Sequoia Capital. Sequoia Capital China. Investment Division 3. Executive Director. Whoa, this was a big name. If they said they were number 2, no one would dare claim to be number 1. Even the CEO of Sphere had to take a back seat. But Sequoia Capital was more than just a company. It was a comprehensive financial management institution with a global presence. It took investments from wealthy individuals and reinvested them. It had portfolio companies all over the world. In his past life, TikTok had been backed by Sequoia, which held a significant 12.8% stake. Hello, Ms. Kai. I'm sorry, I don't have a card on me, Cole said with a chuckle. No problem at all. You're on vacation, after all. I'm the one who's interrupting. I should be the one apologizing, Catherine.She said with poise. Ms. Kai is a busy woman. You wouldn't be here without a reason. Is there something you need? Cole asked directly. He knew what she wanted. It was obviously an investment in Headline Today. There's something, yes. I just wanted to discuss it with you. Please go ahead. Headline Today and Slice Video have incredible momentum, Ms. Kai. The valuation from every ratings agency gets higher every month. But your expansion speed is still a bit slow compared to similar products. I was wondering if you felt the same way. I do, Cole admitted. We certainly haven't been advertising in Times Square. Some products, like one of Google's new platforms, had advertised there, creating a massive amount of buzz and making them seem more high-end. Aren't you planning to accelerate your expansion? The internet market is only so big, after all. The user base is finite, Catherine said, her eyes fixed on Cole's expression. Not at the moment. And we can't afford a huge ad campaign. We're just a micro-enterprise, Cole said with a modest smile. A micro-enterprise? Mr. Shin, you must be joking. If Headline Today is a micro-enterprise, a lot of companies would be blushing right now, Catherine smiled. She continued, Headline Today has the potential to rival major players like Sphere, but you need to increase your visibility among the elite and raise your profile. Participate in some well-known forums, invite some celebrities to join the platform, things like that. Haha, that might be a bit difficult. I doubt those elite forums would welcome me. We grew up from the dirt. We can't compare to those who hang on the branches, Cole joked. You have a great sense of humor, Mr. Chun. Catherine took off her sunglasses, revealing eyes accentuated with eyeshadow. There were no wrinkles at the corners, and her gaze was bright. They looked a bit like a fox's eyes. Her features had a bit of a Eurasian look to them. She was likely of mixed heritage. Her lips curved into a smile that was slightly bewitching but brimming with confidence. Mr. Chun, Sequoia Capital is interested in helping Headline Today grow rapidly. From what I understand, you still have many features you haven't developed, or perhaps are in the process of developing. All of that requires capital, and relying solely on yourself will present certain difficulties. Even if you have enough, it will slow down your development timeline. For example, your server clusters, your data centers. Headline Today must be running tight on memory, right? Cole gave a faint smile. You have a sharp eye, Ms. Kai. That's true. A data center had been on his mind for a while, but it was too early to build one now. They didn't need that much data exchange and storage yet. Investing too early would be a waste of resources. Headline Today was just getting started. He listened as Catherine continued. The Headline app's functionality also seems to be waiting for expansion. That requires manpower and equipment, as well as a rapid and widespread advertising campaign. All of that costs money. Your current revenue shouldn't be enough to support that, correct? As she spoke, she gracefully crossed her right leg over her left. The view was fleeting but evocative. Her gaze remained locked on Cole's face, a strange light glinting in her eyes. A unicorn company, created by such a young, handsome man. In all her professional experience, she had never seen anything like it. But now she had. For a man so handsome, he could be a male model to have achieved so much. Any woman would admire it. It had nothing to do with love. It was purely appreciation. Just as Cole was about to answer, the girls surrounded them. Mr. Chin, may I ask who this is? Yvonne was the first to speak up. She was never one to shy away from being the first to fire a shot. The three main girls' eyes were filled with suspicion. Women understand women. This woman was interested in Cole. Ugh. Why was everyone interested in their Cole? It was so annoying. And the most annoying part was that this woman's interest wasn't that kind of interest, but that kind of interest. Jasmine, in particular, could see it clearly. The light in this woman's eyes was the desire to be conquered. Hello, everyone. I'm just discussing a bit of cooperation with your Mr. Chun. It's business, not what you're thinking, Catherine Kai said with a calm, unruffled smile. She had seen it all before. She wasn't afraid of a few young girls. That's right, Cole nodded, confirming her statement. He had seen the strange look in the woman's eyes, and he understood it. But he had to pretend he didn't. Times had changed. He couldn't afford to be reckless. He'd lose his darlings. Then we'll let you two talk, Jasmine said with a slight smile. The girls walked back toward the water. Since Cole had said it was business, they shouldn't interrupt. Watching their retreating figures, Catherine Kai chuckled. Mr. Chun, you're truly blessed. I'd long heard that the core executives of Headline today were all stunning beauties. Seeing them today, it's certainly true. Ms. Kai, to be honest, I have no plans to enter the e-commerce market at the moment. So, I'm afraid I'll have to decline your kind offer, Cole said, cutting straight to the point and exposing her true intentions. The combined revenue from Headline Today and Slice Video was raking in cash hand over fist. If it was just for expanding the business, it was more than enough. Only a move into e-commerce would require a massive infusion of capital. In an era before 4G, aside from e-commerce, there weren't many other ventures that would burn through that much money. They could just upgrade their features step by step. If he hadn't guessed wrong, she was bound to bring it up. It seems you have no ambition to compete in e-commerce, Mr. Chun, Catherine said. A flicker of astonishment crossed her eyes before she regained her composure. She thought, this young man is truly clever. He actually guessed my intentions. If Headline Today didn't do e-commerce and remained purely a media platform, its competitiveness in the internet landscape would be diminished. They could still invest, but the level of investment would be correspondingly smaller. None at all, Cole said, shaking his head, his answer firm. Headline Today is committed to the path of new era online media. It wasn't the right time for Headline Today to get into e-commerce. You can't have every advantage. The new media model was already generating enormous profits. It was better to solidify that foundation first. Once they had a massive user base, e-commerce would be a natural next step that no one could stop. Right now, the e-commerce world was a battleground of dragons and tigers, and the logistics companies were fighting fiercely as well. He had no desire to wade into those muddy waters or to make too many enemies. He didn't want to try and snatch the chicken only to lose the rice. The major logistics companies were all backed by Sequoia, Alibaba, and Tencent. They cast a wide net. If they didn't make money on the left, they'd make it on the right. If Headline Today rashly charged in, Sequoia would just pull out at the first sign of a crisis. They wouldn't care if the company lived or died. What a shame. I thought you were a real go-getter, someone with the guts to fight for a piece of the e-commerce pie. I didn't expect you to be content with your own little corner, Catherine said, a look of regret on her face. In reality, it was a goading tactic. She didn't believe the handsome wolf in front of her was scared. Perhaps he had other plans. Can't be helped. I'm not a man of great ambition, Cole said with an apologetic smile. Very well, then. Catherine feigned a sigh, then changed the subject. Do you have any future plans, Mr. Chun? Not at the moment. I just want to focus on the work at hand, Cole said, shaking his head again. He had plans, but he certainly wasn't going to tell her. Then it seems the stars have not yet aligned for Sequoia and you, Mr. Chun. Catherine spread her hands in a gesture of helplessness. The friendly conversation came to an end. Catherine strode away with a cat-like grace. Cole watched the happy figures of his three girls and began to think about how to continue expanding Headline Today's influence. The 6 days of happy vacation passed in a flash. Sabrina and Sophia never appeared again, which was a great relief to Cole and the girls. Having enjoyed all the food and fun, the group returned home satisfied. Headline Today was running smoothly. The holiday landmark check-in event had ignited users' enthusiasm. The city of Rockford was also overflowing with tourists thanks to Headline's promotion, causing the relevant state departments to start paying attention to the company. On the 8th, the first day back at work, Cole attended a symposium held by the State Arts Council. That was followed by another symposium with the Tourism Board. The long-winded reports made his head spin. A career in politics was truly not for ordinary people. He almost died just from listening to a report, yet the officials sat there, placid, as if listening to divine truths. Fortunately, after the 2 meetings, he had made a name for himself at the state government level and met a lot of people. The next morning, there was a knock on his office door. Luna walked in, calling out softly, "Brother, Lou, don't you have class today?" Cole beckoned her over. "I do," but I brought a roommate with me. She needs your help with something, Luna said, sitting on his lap. She added in a shy whisper, you can't, brother. She's waiting outside. Tell me, what does she need my help with? Cole was sure it must be something official, otherwise Luna wouldn't have brought her here. She's in the Anime Society, and she wants to ask you to sponsor an event, Luna said directly. The Anime Society? Cole's eyes drifted upward in thought, then lit up. Right? I've been so busy, I completely forgot about that. The national cosplay community was huge. It could definitely help expand Headline's brand recognition and build goodwill with a younger demographic. You can ask her to come in. Okay. A moment later, Luna led two girls into the office. They were in cosplay outfits and makeup, though Cole couldn't tell who they were supposed to be. Cosplay in this era was a bit simpler, and the range of subjects wasn't as broad. The lead girl wore black thigh-high stockings, revealing a forcefully created cleavage. Her hands were clasped over her stomach, as if she was summoning her courage. Hello, Mr. Chun. I'm Iris, from the Anime Society. I'm also Luna's roommate. Her companion looked like she had social anxiety, her face etched with nervousness. Hello, Cole said with a broad smile, walking out from behind his desk. He gestured to the sofa. Please sit. Let's talk. Luna came in with 2 glasses of lemonade. Sit down and talk. Make yourselves at home, just like in the dorm. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chun. Thank you, Luna. The tension in Iris's eyes eased a little. She gestured for her companion to sit with her. The other girl looked like a shy high school student. Iris stole a glance at Mr. Chun. It was true what they said in the club. He was incredibly handsome, more so than many male celebrities, second only to a godlike figure known as Reader. If she hadn't known Luna was here, she wouldn't have dared to ask for sponsorship. Seeing her roommate acting so at ease, as if she were in her own home, made her a little envious. Mr. Chun, I came here today to ask for your help. Would you be able to sponsor an event for our Anime Society? Iris's smile was tinged with apprehension. She didn't have much social experience and just stated her business directly, with no idea what the outcome would be. Eastwood University's Anime Society had an outreach department, but because of her roommate connection to Luna, she, the head of the cosplay division, was sent to make the pitch. Yes, Cole's reply was incredibly simple. So simple that Iris was taken aback. Her spirits soared, and she became so excited she was nearly incoherent. The cosplay division has a few dozen people, and we have some new original works from the art department we'd like to showcase. A few dozen people is too small. Cole's next sentence snuffed out her excitement. A chill went down her spine. Didn't he say yes? Her companion's gaze dimmed, her anxiety growing. What I mean is if we're going to do it, let's do it big, Cole said, thinking aloud. Headline today will be the exclusive organizer, and your Anime Society will be the co-host. We'll invite anime clubs from multiple universities, as well as cosplay enthusiasts from all over the country. We'll hold it at the North Lake Convention Center. His words pulled Iris's heart back from the brink. The light returned to her companion's eyes. The thought of such a massive event made Iris tremble with excitement. Really, Mr. Chun? Of course, Cole nodded. Go back and report this. For the rest of the arrangements, you'll coordinate with our Vice President of Planning, Whitney Yuan. Thank you, Mr. Chun. Thank you. Iris stood up and bowed. She thought she'd be lucky to get a few $1,000s in sponsorship, but she never imagined she'd get such a huge surprise. An event of this scale would be a major festival in the anime world. She added excitedly, Mr. Chun, I'm also a loyal user of Headline today. That's great. Post a lot of your work during the event. You'll definitely gain some followers, Cole smiled. I definitely will. Iris and her companion left, beaming with joy. Luna was about to go back to campus with them, but was stopped by Cole. Lou, close the office door. I have something to talk to you about, Cole said, sitting back down in his chair. Luna's face instantly flushed red. She knew what her brother wanted. Even though it had happened many times, her heart still fluttered like a frightened deer. The feeling was a mix of pleasure and torment, yet also brought her a deep sense of security and sweetness. Just as Luna, flushed with a mix of shyness and delight, closed the door and came into Cole's arms, he pulled a document out of his desk drawer. Here, sweetheart. Sign this. Huh? Brother, what is it? For some reason, a small pang of disappointment bloomed in Luna's heart. Is he tired of me? She looked at the document's title. Share, transfer agreement, no consideration. The company identified was the Tea Alchemist. Luna read only the beginning and then looked away, shaking her head vigorously. Brother, I don't want it. It's too valuable. I really don't. You have to take it. It's my gift to you, Cole said, giving her a gentle pat. No, I really don't want it. I already have a lot of money. Luna kept shaking her head, refusing to even look at the agreement. She had a considerable income now, but she never spent money on clothes. Cole always took her shopping. He loved watching her try on outfits. Jasmine had also taken her shopping a couple of times. She had no way to spend the money. She was even planning to donate some to her old high school. Be good. There's no point in the Tea Alchemist staying under my name anymore. I don't plan on doing anything with it. So let's just let Wendy run it as her own career, Cole said, making up an excuse that was also the truth. The tea shop chain had become a trivial asset under his name. Although there were now 7 profitable shops bringing in tens of thousands in cash daily, and it would be worth a decent amount as a franchise, compared to headline today, it was a sesame seed next to a watermelon. He might as well give it to the girl who had been there from the beginning. No, I don't want it. Are you giving me something just so you can send me away? Luna's lower lip began to tremble. When she was little, her second uncle had given her a basket of potatoes and then told her to go back to her own home, promising to send more vegetables later. He never did. She ended up living on 1 potato a day, supplemented with whatever wild vegetables she could dig up. She would rather die than go back to her relative's house. She held out until the end of summer vacation and then went to high school with not a single penny to her name. When the principal and her homeroom teacher found out, they immediately arranged for her to live at the school dorm, tuition-free. That's not it at all. My darling Lou, you've misunderstood. Cole was stunned. He never thought giving away shares would go so wrong. I don't want it. Sob. Sob. Luna wouldn't listen to him, starting to cry. Tears streamed down her face, her eyes filled with despair. In her mind, this was exactly what Cole meant. Even though she managed finances, she had no real concept of wealth. Her current life was something she couldn't have even imagined before. If someone had told her back then what it was like to have over $100,000 in her bank account, she would have been baffled. She was still baffled now. She didn't know how to spend it. She just wanted to be Cole's Luna. But he was tired of her. Okay. You don't have to take it. I won't give it to you. Don't cry, okay? Cole quickly pulled her into a tight hug, coaxing her softly. If this had been his past life, and he'd said to his girlfriend, "Let me give you some shares," she would have jumped for joy, squealing in a high-pitched voice. "You're so good to me." The thought brought a sting to Cole's eyes. It wasn't that there were no good girls in the world. He was just lucky enough to have met them in this life. He cradled her head against his chest, wiping away her tears. He said gently, "I told you, you're mine for the rest of your life. But you can't have any regrets." Sob. I don't regret it. Sob. I don't want you to give me things. Sob. Luna clutched his shirt, still crying inconsolably. It was too valuable. So valuable she couldn't bear it. She was terrified it would create a rift between them. She was afraid Cole would think she was greedy for it, and she was afraid others would think the same. She couldn't care less about these things. Okay, I won't give it to you. We'll give it to our children in the future. That's okay, right? Cole stroked her back, kissing her forehead. Sob. Oh, okay. Luna's crying immediately stopped, turning into soft whimpers. The word children instantly put her at ease. With children, they would have a complete family. Of course, it was okay to give it to their children. Then no more crying. Come on, wipe your tears, or our kids will laugh at you for being a crybaby, Cole said, pulling a tissue to gently wipe her face. Okay, I won't cry anymore. I'll teach our children to be brave, Luna said between hiccups, her little mouth still puckered. Thinking of all the wonderful things the future held, the light returned to her eyes. She didn't want anything but Cole. What was the use of all that other stuff? If she wanted to donate to her old teachers in the future, even if she didn't have enough, Cole would surely help. Okay, we'll have a daughter, and she'll be as beautiful as you, Cole said, kissing her little mouth. As he kissed her, her still pouting lips returned to normal. Luna said faintly, "Then let's have 2. Don't they all like sons? 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. But we have to have a daughter." "I love daughters," Cole whispered, rubbing his nose against hers. "Really?" Luna stopped whimpering. "Really? I'll hold her in the palm of my hand." Cole smiled, already looking forward to Luna having a child. "You're so strange, brother. Everyone else wants to have sons," Luna said, her tears turning to laughter as she puckered her lips for another kiss. Tasting her fruity lips, Cole stole a moment to say, "That's because they don't understand how wonderful daughters are. A daughter is a father's little treasure. I'd love that. Brother, it's all up to you. However you want. To have them is fine." Luna's eyes fluttered shut as she murmured in the midst of their kiss. The comforting session went on for a long time. Kisses weren't enough, and Cole feasted ravenously for a while. Strangely, Luna was immediately fine. The more fiercely he held her, the safer she felt. It wasn't until someone knocked on the door that Cole had Sasha escort Luna back to campus. She had an important financial management class that afternoon. It was an advanced course she couldn't miss. Half a month later, the Anime Expo was a massive success. Through Headline Today, countless cosplay enthusiasts from universities all over the country were invited. These were true enthusiasts, not the kind from the cruise ship. Countless geeks took time off work to make the pilgrimage to the holy land of Rockford. Headline Today had booked the first 3 floors of the convention center. A grand opening ceremony was held on the first floor. As Cole raised a microphone and shouted that it was officially open, the cosplayers and fans from various anime societies roared with joy. This was the first time there had been such a large-scale cosplay event in the country, and it was hosted by the famous internet company Headline Today. Cosplay enthusiasts, long misunderstood by their families and friends, shed tears of joy. Crucially, Headline Today had invested heavily. Admission was free, and 2 meals were provided. As long as you were a participant, you could eat. Water was freely available, but you couldn't waste it. Normally, when they attended conventions, they had to bring their own lunch because the food and drinks sold on-site were incredibly expensive. The 3-day convention was filled with passion from all the anime societies. Some of the costumes were a bit simple, some of the cosplayers were a bit short, and some were a bit shy, but that didn't dampen anyone's enthusiasm. Finally, there was a grand closing ceremony featuring dance performances by cosplay teams and an award ceremony. It was, in a word, very official. This earned Headline Today immediate respect from many young people who had never registered for, or even heard of, the platform before. Although Headline Today ran ads, the attendees wished they would run even more. The expo also generated a huge amount of buzz online. It was all over major news portals, blogs, and of course Headline Today itself. Many cosplay enthusiasts who couldn't attend were filled with regret. However, the fact that Headline Today provided food also angered some small vendors who wanted to do business. They started spreading rumors online, claiming the convention center was littered with trash and that Headline Today was charging exorbitant prices for meals. This enraged the attendees, who immediately came forward to debunk the rumors, causing Headline Today's reputation to soar even higher. But within the industry, there were still voices of dissent. In New York City, at the headquarters of Tengrade's 10 Stories platform, TCH, grandstanding, thinks he's so clever. He's going to lose his shirt with stunts like this, the head of Tengrade said dismissively. He's just a young kid. Maybe he's into cosplay himself, the vice president chuckled. Both men were in their late 30s, born in the 70s, and had little interest in cosplay. They also represented different shareholder interests and were only superficially friendly. We might as well take advantage of this. We can invite a few influential cosplayers to join our platform and rally some people on the forums, the head of Tengrade said with a cold smile. That's not a bad idea. We could try it, the VP said with a smile. He didn't care how it was done, as long as it didn't cost any money. After the task was assigned, the secretary's reply made the director's face darken. They wouldn't come to 10 Stories. They said they were already operating on Headline Today and didn't have the energy for another platform. Online, Headline Today announced the launch of its anime channel, welcoming all anime lovers to submit their work freely and earn revenue. The app's download numbers immediately skyrocketed, and the number of registered users exploded. Many cosplayers who were used to using Bilibili now had another home on Headline. In Boston, at the headquarters of Sequoia Capital, China, it seems we underestimated the cosplay world. There are quite a few of them. A high investment for a high return for Headline Today, said Shinjun, the head of Sequoia's mainland operations. My apologies. I wasn't able to close the deal, Catherine Kai said apologetically. It's not your fault. This kid has a lot of ideas. He's not going to accept any strings. We'll wait. If he hits a wall down the road, he'll eventually need capital, Shunjun said with a chuckle. The heat from the anime convention hadn't even died down when the Eastwood University Top 10 Singers competition came to a close. As a product of Eastwood, Headline Today naturally sponsored the event without hesitation. On the campus green, thousands of student representatives from all departments waited for the award ceremony. There was no suspense about first place. It went to Sabrina Ning. This was the first time Cole had seen her since he'd returned to Rockford. Presenting the first place award was the job of a student government leader. Sabrina accepted the headline cup with a smile that was seemingly humble but actually screamed as expected. After bowing, she took the microphone to give her acceptance speech. After a few sentences thanking her teachers and the school leadership, Sabrina's tone suddenly changed. She glanced at Cole, who was seated on the stage, before turning her gaze to the students below. I'd like to take this opportunity to say something. Cole on stage had a bad feeling, but he didn't want to seem overly self-important. Sabrina's voice was filled with emotion. Before I came to Eastwood, my parents told me I would meet some truly outstanding people here. I didn't believe them at first, but after I arrived, I realized they were right. I met the person my parents were talking about, an incredibly exceptional upperclassman. And so, I'd like to take this opportunity to confess my feelings to him. Her words sent a shockwave through the crowd. Even the leaders on stage were momentarily stunned. What is this all about? But such was the nature of young hearts. Such was youth. Universities even encouraged dating. The dean of the School of Arts remained silent. This student came from a good family and was proud and arrogant. The person she had set her sights on would surely be exceptional. A few other leaders glanced at Cole, their expressions thoughtful. In front of everyone, Sabrina turned to face Cole on the stage. Her eyes were filled with shyness as she shouted, "Cole-chun, I like you. Will you be my boyfriend?" The entire venue erupted. A wave of woe as swept through the crowd. The leaders on stage looked at Cole with amused smiles. Among the sophomores and juniors in the audience, there were plenty of insiders who were curious to see how Cole would respond. Under the watchful eyes of thousands, Cole stood up with a faint, unreadable smile. The quick-witted host rushed to hand him a microphone. "Thanks." Cole took the mic, even tapping it and saying testing, testing into it. Then he quietly looked down at Sabrina, who was staring up at him with a look of hopeful anticipation. Without a shred of mercy, he said, "Ms. Ning, I'm sorry, but I already have a girlfriend. You are an excellent person, and you deserve someone better. Thank you." He handed the microphone back to the host and sat down, his expression placid. The entire exchange was as detached as rejecting a telemarketer. The venue fell eerily silent. The new belle of the School of Arts had been rejected. Some felt pity, while others felt a sense of satisfaction. Sabrina's face froze, but she quickly forced a pained smile, as if trying to remain strong despite the blow. "All right, I guess I'm not good enough for you. I'll work harder." She dropped the microphone and ran off the stage, covering her face, leaving her trophy behind. The scene evoked sympathy from many students, but they couldn't bring themselves to dislike Cole. In fact, some even admired him. Rejection was a person's right, especially when it came to turning down a beautiful, wealthy girl. If it had been anyone else, it might have seemed pretentious or strange. But coming from Cole, it felt completely normal. If he accepted every confession, would he even have time to breathe? On stage, Cole's face was serene. "This woman is insane. She likes me? Bullshit. Confessing? My ass. She's a total drama queen. A psycho." Cole just wanted the award ceremony to end, so he could go celebrate Luna's birthday. After another half hour of torture, the competition finally concluded, aside from that little interlude. Cole patiently bid farewell to the various leaders and professors, then drove to pick up Luna and head straight for the Golden Bay residences. The cake was already in the fridge. Like Jasmine, Luna didn't want to invite anyone else. She just wanted to be with Cole. If he hadn't mentioned her birthday, she would have forgotten it completely. The living room lights were off, illuminated only by the 10 candles on the cake. "Happy birthday to you." Even though Cole was the only one singing, Luna's face was beaming with happiness. After the song, she closed her eyes and made a wish. He didn't know what she wished for, but a smile spread across her face. She opened her eyes and said, "I'm done. All right, blow out the candles." Cole wondered what she could have wished for. Luna leaned forward and blew out all 10 candles in one breath. "Time to cut the cake." Cole handed her the knife. Luna cut a slice and, with a shy smile, held it out to him. Cole took a bite with a fork and then held it up to her mouth. "For my birthday girl." Luna's eyes crinkled with a smile as she opened her mouth and took the entire forkful. She'd barely chewed a few times when a finger dabbed with frosting touched the tip of her nose. "Huh, a little extra good luck for the birthday girl." Cole laughed. "Brother, you need some good luck, too." Luna giggled like a silver bell, grabbing a handful of cake and trying to smear it on his nose. Cole dodged left and right, but was finally defeated. After they had chased each other and played to their heart's content, they settled down to eat the cake. Cole liked to eat lying down, but Luna could only eat leaning over. A little cake wasn't enough to fill them up, so they had a few other things to eat before heading to the master bathroom to clean up. Fresh from her shower, Luna shyly slipped under the thin covers, her sparkling eyes a mix of fear and anticipation. Cole leaped onto the bed with a wicked grin and pulled a small, exquisite box from under the pillow. It had English and Chinese writing on it. "Cartier, my darling Lou, a birthday present for you. Open it and see if you like it. I love it," Luna said before she even opened it. She took it with both hands and opened the lid. Inside was a pair of exquisite, diamond-encrusted earrings. Cole knew Luna had gotten her ears pierced when she was a child, so he had chosen earrings. "Wow, Brother, these must have been so expensive. Luna's eyes widened, filled with joy. Women like dragons loved shiny things. The shares were too valuable, but this kind of gift she adored. Her earlobes had been pierced long ago. The Cartier post slid through without any resistance. Does it hurt? Cole asked, holding her close and whispering in her ear. It's okay. I can take it. I love you, brother. I never want to leave you. And you can never, ever leave me. Brother loves you too. I will always love you, Cole said, a truth in his past life he would have considered a lie, but one he was now determined to fulfill. Face flushed crimson, Luna stared at her man with wide, adoring eyes. She didn't want to close them and hide. Before, she had always felt something was missing between them. Not anymore. Now, she and Cole truly possessed all of each other. A single crimson mark on the white sheets was the silent testament to the gift she had given him. Luna's body was an hourglass, with a narrow waist and full curves above and below. The visual effect of her proportions was enough to make Cole's eyes feel like an erupting volcano. It was a different kind of beauty from Jasmine's, who was a perfectly proportioned, impossibly flexible warrior. Luna, on the other hand, was a visual assassin. What they had in common was the love that filled their eyes. Still, Cole was tender with her, not demanding too much. Good things come to those who wait. They shifted positions, holding each other quietly. Luna's face was flushed, her eyes fixed on her man, sparkling with happiness and joy. From this day forward, Cole was truly her man, and she was truly his woman. She was, without a doubt, Cole's Luna. All that was left was to graduate and have his children. The future was bright. Brother, a call and response. No other words were needed. Just the occasional soft touch, the occasional fervent kiss. Everything was understood without being said. The next day, Luna woke up first. She continued to gaze at Cole, as if she could never get enough of looking at him. When he woke up, she wanted to get out of bed and go downstairs to buy breakfast. In her mind, it was her duty to serve her man. You stay in bed. I'll go, Cole said, refusing to let her. He immediately climbed out of bed, adamant that she not go. Maybe he couldn't treat every situation with perfect equality, but he had to do what he could. When he returned with breakfast, he found that Luna was already up. The bedsheets had been changed. Perhaps because of the hardships she had endured as a child, she had a high tolerance for pain and a strong constitution. Her steps were a little unsteady, but overall, she seemed to be in good shape. Brother, I squeezed the toothpaste for you, Luna called from the bathroom. Coming. We'll brush our teeth together, Cole said, running over happily. Okay. Cole brushed his teeth with one hand and let the other wander, which unfortunately curbed Luna's appetite. She ended up eating a banana before breakfast to settle her stomach. The October weather was still a bit warm, and people in short sleeves were everywhere. Luna insisted on going back to school for her classes, so Cole had no choice but to drive her. He himself had forgotten what it felt like to attend a class. But that wasn't to say he wasn't learning. University was about combining theory with practice, and his classes were all practical. He was making money, so you couldn't say he wasn't learning finance. In any case, he wasn't on an academic track. He was, for all intents and purposes, unscholarly. At least on the surface, no university leader was displeased with him. He had no idea what his professors thought. The moment he walked into the office, he noticed the employees looking at him strangely. Mr. Chun, you're famous. Whitney Yuan, never one to mince words, called out. Mr. Chun, the internet is split into two camps right now. One is crucifying you, and the other is praising you, Fiona said. Huh, what's all the fuss about? Cole's mind was still on his visual assassin, and he couldn't immediately recall what they were talking about. It's about Sabrina Ning. Lin Fan turned around, resting her chin on her hand, looking like she was enjoying the show. You rejected her in front of all those people and broke her heart. Whoa, that's already online. Cole had expected as much, but he was still surprised. He had to admit, the rejection had felt pretty good, even if her performance was just an act. Mr. Chun, I think you should open an account and post a statement or something. Stop that woman from playing the innocent victim. Her reputation is soaring right now. Yvonne suggested. She had a bad feeling about Sabrina. Her intuition told her this woman was not as simple as she appeared. All right, I'll open one, Cole agreed. He wasn't a fan of blogs, but if he didn't even use his own platform, it would be unconvincing. Back in his office, he registered an account. He used his real name, Cole Chun. The bio took him a while to think about. Finally, he wrote, a person in pursuit of simplicity. He didn't rush to post anything. First, he wanted to see what was happening online. He opened a major news blog as a guest. He wanted to see what they were saying. In this era, blogs were the top tier of online media, a gathering place for so-called experts. On the left side of the page was the list of trending topics. Brangelina divorcing. And Hathaway's new movie is a smash hit. Theme song goes viral. Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton feuding. A certain celebrity's son gets into a fight. Jay-Z and Beyoncé get married. Some other celebrities get divorced. The top 10 trending topics were all entertainment gossip, followed by good news about the real estate market. Not a single thing about real public interest. At this time, the entertainment industry was the main theme of the blogosphere. He had to scroll down to number 14 to find himself. Headline today, founder accused of playing with emotions. Cole's eye twitched. That title was something else. He hoped it wasn't about him and his 3 girls. If it was, his lawyer, Mr. Zhao, was about to get a very big case. He clicked on it and saw it wasn't. It was still about his rejection of Sabrina, but it was completely biased in her favor. The entire article was about the pure and loving Sabrina Ning, innocent to the ways of the world, who confessed her love to the founder of Headline Today, only to be rejected on the spot. Her self-esteem was crushed, and she ran away in tears. What surprised Cole was that they had somehow gotten photos taken by students at the event. His photo wasn't very clear, but Sabrina's photos were high definition. She looked radiant while singing and heart-wrenchingly beautiful when forcing a smile. The comments below boiled down to 2 points. Cole Chun, the founder of Headline Today, was either blind or impotent. Cole skimmed a few and then lost interest. There was no way to explain this. It was obvious someone had paid to get this trending. Other articles went even further off the rails. Headline Today's Cole Chun dumps old flame after making it big. Before founding Headline Today, Cole Chun met a certain wealthy young woman. With her strong support, he opened a tea shop and later founded Headline Today. On the day of his success, the wealthy young woman confessed her love, hoping for something in return. Instead, she was brutally shot down and fled in tears. The comments below were a unanimous chorus of insults, calling Cole ungrateful and a beast in human form. Cole's eyes narrowed. This he couldn't just laugh off. He checked the blogger's profile. It was a small, obscure independent media outlet. He picked up the phone and dialed. Hello, Mr. Zhao. I need you to file a lawsuit for slander and malicious defamation. This has caused extreme harm to me and my family. My demand is this. Pursue this case until he begs for mercy. Understood, Mr. Chun. I saw it on the blog. Is it that XXXX one? Mr. Zhao asked. Yes, no problem. Mr. Zhao sounded excited. This is what lawyers did, and the more they fought, the more they earned. After hanging up, Cole made another call. Find this person. My demands are, get the funds from accounting. Finding one person in this country of 300 million people was difficult, but finding someone who had made a name for himself was not. A problem that could be solved with money was not a problem at all. The lawsuit was to make the man suffer the consequences. The rest was purely personal. If it weren't for the companionship of his 3 girls, Cole's heart would have been completely black. A small punishment was already an act of great mercy on his part. There were articles on Headline Today as well, but they were more objective, simply stating the facts. They were probably posted by students. Future pop star's confession rejected. The surprising reason why. Shocking. Eastwood's #1 musical talent rejected. Musical prodigy's confession rejected. Who is this audacious man? After confirming the content wasn't problematic, Cole chuckled and had the back-end team give the third one a recommendation. He's audacious, all right. Then he picked a few others and recommended them as well. The comment sections for these articles were split into 2 camps. One side pitted the musical talent Sabrina Ning, saying her devotion had been betrayed. The other side supported Cole, saying rejection was a human right. It was the first time Cole had heard human rights used correctly. Then, he found a dangerous article. Who is Cole Chin's real girlfriend? The hottest comment chain was this one. It's the she-devil from Eastwood Tech. I saw them kissing with my own eyes. 15,000 likes. You're wrong, upstairs. It's the flower of Eastwood Law School. I saw him with his arm around her. 12,000 likes. It's neither. It's the moon of the business school's accounting department. You guys don't know about Eastwood's #1 moon, do you? 10,000 likes. Is it possible? It's all of them. 30,000 likes. Author, you must not be a student here in Rockford, right? Everyone knows the answer to this question. Aren't they the triumvirate of Headline Today? 50,000 likes. After silently reading for a while, Cole liked that last comment. He wasn't afraid of being exposed. He wasn't married. They weren't married. What could anyone say? What he had to ensure was that he wasn't seen with random women in hotels. As long as nothing like that happened, he was on solid ground. Finally, he came across Sabrina Ning's first post on her own account. Everyone, please don't worry. It was my fault for being so presumptuous. I was inconsiderate. I was too childish, and I disturbed him. I want to apologize to Colchin here, but I really do like you. The background music was full of devotion and melancholy. It was impossible to watch and listen without feeling a pang of sympathy. In the comments, someone said, such a great girl. Why does she have to fall into that pit? Upstairs, do you know what you just said? If it were me, I'd want to fall into that pit too. I'd jump in head first. I go head first and upside down. I'd be happy to just lie on the edge of the pit and lick it. I'm a guy, but I'd still be willing to fall in. You want to be a tree, is that it? Cole felt a little nauseous as he read. Sabrina was a damn genius. Had she completely lost herself in the role? It did fit the mental state of people like her, bored out of their minds. After thinking for a moment, Cole decided to film his first video. But he realized he didn't have a phone stand. He had a call for his vice president. Yvonne held the phone with a serious expression, thinking Cole was about to deliver some profound speech, like those other famous tech moguls, something that would make people think. Cole stood by his desk. When Yvonne gave him the OK sign, he said with a gentle expression, "Hello everyone, I'm Cole Chun. Gender, male. Preference, female. I'd like to ask certain male netizens to please stop sliding into my DMs." Yvonne couldn't hold back her laughter. Then she burst out, "Ah!" She slapped her thigh, letting out a honking laugh. "What are you doing?" Cole shot her a look. "Ha! Nothing. Mr. Chin, I just suddenly found it funny." Yvonne bent over, waving her hand, tears streaming from her eyes. "Oh my God, that's hilarious. Continue. Hurry up. If you laugh again, I'll spank you," Cole said, his face stern, before catching himself and swallowing the last two words. Who would have thought that Yvonne would turn around, stick her butt out, and look at him provocatively? "Go on, then. If you have the guts, do it. Hit me hard. Don't just talk about it." Yvonne was wearing a dark gray pencil skirt that contrasted perfectly with her pale legs. The pose had a certain charm. "Look at you. Get back to work." If it weren't for the three darlings holding down the fort in his heart, Cole really would have been tempted to give her a smack. It was strange. Yvonne was clearly very attractive, but he just didn't have that kind of thought about her. Being fed three extremely delicious flavors on a regular basis had made him picky. The key was that those three flavors were multifaceted. Jasmine was sometimes exceptionally submissive. Sometimes she would curse him out while initiating things herself. Sometimes she would turn her head and say she hated him, but still let him do as he pleased. Sometimes she would pound his shoulder and say no, but never push him away. Coupled with that perfect body and the mix of love and hate, Cole found her irresistible. Luna was the epitome of shyness, yet she would purse her lips and boldly meet his advances. Serena often had strange and wonderful ideas. She would cry out in a mix of fear, shyness, and surprise. "Cole, what are you doing?" It wasn't that Yvonne wasn't beautiful or didn't have a good body. It was that Cole had developed a discerning palate. He understood what Yvonne was thinking, but there were other factors to consider. Without a doubt, Yvonne was also indispensable to him. She was the core of Headline today. This capable assistant still needed some training, but he couldn't spank her. If he did it once, she'd dare to do it a second time. Someone in marketing had an extremely proud nature. They didn't submit to anyone easily, unless you beat them into submission. Cole shook his head, clearing out the stray thoughts. This was not the time for daydreaming. "I knew you wouldn't dare," Yvonne muttered, dissatisfied. "All right, if you don't record this properly, I'm calling Lynn in here," Cole said seriously. "No, don't. I'll do it." Yvonne straightened up. Cole continued. "Regarding this matter, I'd just like to say, let's let it go. Ms. Ning is a very excellent young woman. She's a good person. She will find the person who is truly right for her. I don't want to say I'm sorry, because I don't owe Ms. Ning anything. I have my own choices to make. I also want to say I'm sorry, because I have no intention of hurting anyone, even passively. Thank you very much to all the netizens for your comments on this matter. I've read them, and most of them are friendly and objective. That's great. Creating a harmonious and fair environment for commentary is the mission of Headline today. Finally, I'd like to say, I'm just an ordinary person. I don't play basketball, and I've never been to the Jersey Shore." Cole made a gesture, indicating he was finished. "Mr. Chun, is that all you're going to say?" Yvonne hadn't heard any profound wisdom, just a highly personalized statement that sounded more like a personal confession. Still, she thought it was pretty good. "That's it. Help me post it," Cole nodded. He wasn't going to post it himself if he didn't have time. He had a lot to deal with. "Sure, leave it to me. What's the password?" Yvonne replayed the video. 13143399CS. Okay. As Yvonne walked out, she suddenly understood the meaning of the numbers. For all time, forever and ever, she thought. I wonder if I could be number 4. That would be nice. I really want a little swatch just now. Half an hour later, a new video appeared on the feeds of countless Headline Today users. To their surprise, the author was none other than the CEO of Headline Today, Cole Chun. Countless netizens clicked on it. The video expanded to a small window and began to play. Hello, everyone. I'm Cole Chun. Like Yvonne, most people laughed out loud at this point. They never expected the CEO of Headline Today to be so humorous. The rest of his speech was rational and polite. He even praised the musical talent as a good person. By the end, netizens were a little confused. Why did he say he didn't play basketball and had never been to the Jersey Shore? Was there some hidden meaning? 10 minutes later, the likes had surpassed 300,000, and his followers had skyrocketed from 0 to over 2 million. There were more than 50,000 comments. Mr. Chun, you're a good person. Mr. Chun, give me a recommendation and I won't give you a good person card. Mr. Chun, we have the same interests. Mr. Chun, is there really no hope for guys? Mr. Chun, you're so handsome. At that moment, in a graduate student dorm at Eastwood Tech School of Business, Jasmine was also watching the video her little brother had posted on Headline Today, a constant smile on her face. Eastwood Tech's graduate dorms had 2-person and 4-person rooms. If a girl had a friend who was also a graduate student, or a couple were both graduate students, they could apply for a 2-person room. Right now, Jasmine was living with Alex, and it had air conditioning. There was just a small annual fee of a few $100s. Your little brother is really something else now. I'm so jealous of you. When are you planning to get married? Alex asked from the opposite bed. Maybe after he graduates. He's still young, Jasmine said, her heart stirring. She had thought about marriage, and she had a premonition that a wedding might only be a ceremony, unless Cole gave up the other two. But that was impossible now. If she and Cole got a marriage license, the other two would become mistresses. Given their personalities, Sabrina definitely couldn't handle that. Luna might be able to, but over time, it would take its toll, and she would be vulnerable to attacks. If Cole married one of the other two, she couldn't accept that either. The pain would kill her. Deep down, Jasmine had thought more than once about making Cole give him up. She had even thought about leaving herself. But the thought of leaving vanished as soon as it appeared. She could never leave Cole. She would rather die. She needed him. When she was old, she wanted him by her side, and she was certain that he needed her too. Jasmine often saw a clear longing in her little brother's eyes, which filled her heart with immense satisfaction. Nothing in this world was perfect, just like her genetic condition. If she could be happy with Cole for the rest of her life, making some sacrifices wasn't a big deal. The other two were nice enough. From the perspective of being friends, she didn't dislike them. Of course, having a marriage license would feel better. The word marriage sent 1,000 thoughts racing through Jasmine's mind. You have to ask me to be your maid of honor when the time comes, Alex said. But seriously, this girl is so annoying. You could tell she's faking it from a mile away. Don't worry about her. Cole won't pay her any mind. At Eastwood University's School of Business, accounting department, coming out of class, Brianna and Felicity were staring at Luna. What is it? Luna couldn't help but ask. What's wrong with you? Why are you walking like that? Brianna shot back, looking at her as if she were a strange creature. Nothing's wrong with me. Luna's heart fluttered in panic, her face flushing slightly. Don't ask. She's not like us anymore. She's grown up, Felicity said with a smile. What do you mean she's grown up? She's already big, Brianna said, still not getting it. I mean, she's become a real woman, Felicity had to explain. Luna's face turned even redder. She thought about last night. Holy crap. Luna, you got ravaged by Cole Chun. Brianna finally put 2 and 2 together. Luna had been with Cole for so long without any change, so she hadn't thought about it that way. It's not ravaging. They're in love, Felicity corrected her. Oh, right. They're in love, Brianna nodded quickly, then offered some friendly advice. Did you buy tea? You're only a sophomore. You still have classes. You can't become a mom yet. It's fine, Luna said shyly. She thought about the mess on her stomach from last night. It was the first time she had ever seen that. It must have been so uncomfortable. She hoped she would heal quickly so she could satisfy him again another day. After walking a bit further, Felicity suddenly said, Quick, look at Headline Today. Your Cole, our Mr. Chun, posted a video. Luna and Brianna both took out their phones to check. Felicity continued, Wow, your Cole is so charming. He's handsome and speaks so well. Luna, you're probably going to have to fight off a lot of contenders from now on. Oh my God, I never really noticed before, but seeing him on camera like this, he really does have a lot of masculine charm. If I had a shot, I'd totally fight you for him, Luna, Brianna said jokingly. Luna just smiled. She hoped she would heal quickly, as fast as possible. That kind of thing also brought a sense of emotional security. Luna, when you two get married, I have to be your bridesmaid. Don't you dare say I'm too short, Felicity said. Of course not. We'll have to wear our traditional meow outfits, Luna said, her eyes crinkling into a smile again. The meow people placed great importance on ceremony. A ceremony was enough. She didn't need the legal paperwork. As smart as she was, she understood certain things. Me too, Luna, Brianna said eagerly. Okay. Meanwhile, in a girls' dorm at Eastwood University's School of Arts, music department, Sabrina's face was like ice. Hearing Cole praise her as a good person didn't make her happy at all. Her roommate Bella tried to smooth things over. Maybe Mr. Shin just hasn't had enough contact with you. He's probably busy all the time. How could he think of so much? Another roommate also consoled her. Yeah, good things take time. It's fine. I just didn't want my youth to have any regrets. I just said what I was thinking, Sabrina said with a magnanimous smile. Her phone rang. It was her older brother. Hello. What is it? Sabrina's tone was flat. You've made such a big scene online. Word has already reached Mom and Dad, the voice on the phone said, equally flat. So what if it has? What's wrong with an adult like me confessing my feelings? Sabrina said, unconcerned. Confessing is normal, but there's no need to make such a big deal out of it. Couldn't you have done it in private? You don't get it. I want to make it a big deal. That's what makes it interesting. Sigh. Just don't play yourself into a corner. He's not an idiot. I'm not playing. I just like him. I bet he's secretly thrilled, but he's just putting on an act on the surface. It's so annoying. I just want to make him uncomfortable. Rein it in. Don't embarrass Mom and Dad. And watch your image. It would be a good thing if you could actually succeed with your confession. You understand? Fine, I know. Sabrina hung up. 3 days later, in an apartment in Chicago, media personality Leo Roth looked at the lawyer's letter in his hand and sneered. Thinks I'm afraid of a lawyer's letter? A lawyer's letter is nothing. Is it even useful? The article he had posted on his blog had been widely reposted, and his fame had skyrocketed. Many people thought he had some inside scoop. He didn't have any inside scoop. He was just using it to gain followers. Stirring up trouble. It didn't matter if it was right or wrong. No one could do anything to him anyway. If worst came to worst, he could just charge a fee to delete the post. No big deal. He did it all the time. Leo Roth had registered a small media company. He could afford to rent an apartment in the city center and drive a small BMW precisely because of this business. But he hadn't joined Headline today. That was their territory. His post probably wouldn't even get through, and if it did, it would be deleted. Seeing that it was time for dinner, he hummed a little tune and went downstairs, heading toward his BMW in the open-air parking lot. A young man with a buzz cut, wearing a blue t-shirt and flip-flops, walked toward him. Leo Roth paid him no mind, instead casting a disdainful glance at the man's clothes. This is what happens when you don't work hard. The two were about to collide, but neither would give way. Leo Roth refused to yield. The other man didn't either. Just as Leo Roth was about to confront him, smack! A loud, resounding slap sent him reeling, his face burning.